Next on Cartoon Chat.
Catch that last move? Pretty cool, huh?
I thought you overworked it. Just a bit.
Aw, yeah.
Alright, this is the Animation Conversation Cartoon Chat. I am one of your hosts, Bryan the Baltimorean. Of course, find me here, find me at democracy.com, joined alongside, well, he only does everything technical.
Animation? I thought we were finally doing live action chat. I don't watch cartoons.
Mark, when we get to Mufasa, we'll switch that up. Joining us today, of course, the sir himself, Martin, and a special guest. A special guest whose name I have completely forgotten, of course,
Good
as life goes.
I'm Joe. But I'm more than that. Just remember that.
By the way, their camera's a bit glitchy because they're using the Kinect. I'm going to find like a solution that eventually.
This is also the.
Stop that.
This isn't even the Kinect. This is the iToy. I'm surprised you went so far back in time. This is impressive.
Well, the iToy is like the PS3's iToy is like what, like fucking 720p, probably 480.
It's atrocious. Never forget. We're gonna keep it moving, of course. Here,
I remember we used to use that as that was our first microphone.
That was our first microphone. Yeah, that was the only way we could get sound back then, because we didn't pay for just a blue microphone. So, yeah, that's ancient history now. That was
because we didn't have jobs or income. We were still living with our parents.
Yes.
Damn.
Thank you. Of course, this is the animation conversation, not the tech conversation. Here on Cartoon Chat, we sit back, talk about an animated movie, short or show. And today, of course, we're talking Sinbad. But before we do that, I do want to make sure that we bring up the fact that this is over on ScreenBlast Society. We talk more than just tunes. You can go to ScreenBlastPodcast.com. You'll find Blasting Turbo Reports, our video game-centric conversation. You'll find Mark and Bryan have a cow. What's over there, Mark?
It is memes. If we haven't really. We've been so busy with stuff. We haven't done an episode in a while. But like, once we get things figured out, we'll go back. We'll do a cowcast eventually.
Eventually.
They'll probably be shorter,
I think it's been months at this point. But yeah. The cow keeps moving.
Well, we've been behind on regular shows too.
Well, behind is.
Since Kung Fu Panda 4, we're getting back on track.
But Kung Fu Panda 4 is such a debatable thing that you could just keep watching our podcast on that and then never watch anything else.
It's such a monument of a great movie.
It's the best movie. In fact, the fifth one makes a lot of sense.
What the hell are you guys talking about?
Kung Fu Panda.
I know, I understand, like, that movie was not.
Yeah, it was fantastic. It was so good. In fact, we wanted you there to talk about it.
I didn't want to talk about it. That's why I skipped.
All right. Well, we're not talking about that right now. Of course, over at ScreenBlast Society, once again, we have the ScreenBlast podcast. That's where we talk movies and streaming content. And again, we're already on Cartoon Chat. So, we're going to get into, obviously, our discussion on Sinbad, Legend of the Seven Seas. But before we do...
Is Sinbad like the name of a comedian?
Yes.
Yeah.
That too, yeah.
So why don't we just talk about him?
We could.
I haven't seen one of his comedy specials in so long, so, I mean, y'all...
Let's do a live reaction.
Actually, Mark seems to know a lot, so I'm going to toss the camera over to him. Mark, what do you got?
Alright, so Sinbad appeared on, like, an episode of,
That's a joke. So, moving on. Just shush. I want to do a quick...
He was on an episode of Sunny in Philadelphia.
Brad Pitt, Catherine Zeta-Jones, and Michelle Pfeiffer.
Who's bad?
Sinbad, rated PG, starts July 2nd.
We're going to just briefly talk nostalgia about the movie itself, any sort of thoughts we had before, any memories about it, sort of rose-tinted glasses. I chose Sinbad today. This was sort of a super nostalgic movie of mine. In fact, I think I watched that movie just as much as I watched like Cars or whatever as a kid, just because it was such a cool movie to me. Loved the action sequences, thought it was just a fun adventure, and I haven't watched it since probably 2015, 16, but still super favorite movie of me as a kid. So yeah, that's on my end. Mark, what are you? Sinbad, I know you're a huge fan. You in fact had all the collectibles. So tell us about that.
Collectibles?
Oh yeah, but like I was, I remember when this movie come out. What year?
2003.
I got a chance to see this movie in 2002. Like I was friends with the director back then, and I actually did some work on the animation. Like it was very challenging. It was a very challenging like work, but I managed to get it done. I actually directed like a lot of the scenes, most of the scenes in this movie. And then the studio kind of took it over. The producer like, we're gonna make some changes, and I was like, you know what? I'm like, I kind of disagree with some of the changes, so you can just take my name off the end credits. Yeah, you can just take my name out of this. And yeah, that's my history with Sinbad.
That's great. That's great. I was wondering how long this bit was gonna run on.
How long are you gonna keep me running? That's the thing.
Yeah.
I was gonna keep going longer, but I was like, oh, he's not gonna stop. Oh, he's not gonna stop.
No, I was like, how far is I thought you were gonna say that you purposely made this movie bomb so Finding Nemo could keep making money. But
fuck yeah!
You didn't connect the dots, motherfucker. Anyway.
Me personally, I was just gonna just say that, like, you know, they saw the script and I was about to say, yeah, this sin is just bad.
Whoa! All right.
No. I bombed the movie so Looney Tunes Back in Action can make money. Still didn't work.
Also,
see,
quick side note.
Sorry,
quick side note for everyone out there. I don't really know how many white viewers you have, but
all of them. They're all white.
Wow. Anyway, what I was pretty much basically the cutaway was that when we were talking about Sinbad being on Living Single is just basically it's Friends, but for black people. So you know,
there you go. Yeah. Yes, indeed. Mark.
I'll be there for you.
Sinbad.
Yeah, keep rolling on by, because I've seen Sinbad twice now, my entire life. The first time was when was it came out?
2003.
2003 is probably when I first saw it. And
well, that was yesterday, Martin.
Oh shit! Then I apologize.
We're all very young.
I apologize. I lied, but no, I did. It's one of those movies that you remember. That just and when someone speaks of it, and you start seeing it in your mind, and just like, oh yeah, I did watch that at one point.
Yeah,
like, you refresh your memory through my recent rewatch of the movie. And I'll get into more detail about that.
Cool beans.
Next time.
To give you, I'm just gonna give you a serious answer real quick. I've only seen this movie once, and that was this morning.
Jesus.
It's just clumped with all the other 2D DreamWorks movies I never really seen. Because I didn't really stop.
You haven't watched Prince of Egypt either.
Yeah. I didn't start watching DreamWorks' animation until Shrek. And then, like, when I saw this backlog of 2D movies, I was like, I'm not gonna bother. Their next CG movie, I'll look into that. Right. 2D, this ain't no Disney.
Yeah,
so
by the time you looked into it, it didn't exist anymore. So ahead of the curve.
Kid Mark was a Disney simp, all right?
Yeah.
Like 2D, forget about it. Who needs that? It's all about those dimensions, squares. Rhombuses. I think that's a shape. I don't think that has three dimensions.
It works.
It works. But you know what I'm saying. But you know those silicones. I mean, I said the wrong fucking shit.
Nothing wrong with silicones in certain places. You know.
But cylinders. That's what we're talking about. There we go. Cylinders. But anyway. My opinion now. It's my time to talk. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
Not my real voice though. But I just saw this again for the second time. At 7 a.m. speedrunned it. So yeah, but from seeing it from when I was a kid, right? Yeah. It was like, oh yeah, this is just like how I saw it. It was really good. I honestly want to say, second go around, I actually enjoyed it a little bit more. And then, not gonna lie, I thought about all the little like toys that I used to get from McDonald's when I just saw this stuff. I was like, hey, I remember that.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
Yes indeed. All right, well, that's nostalgia. Let's go ahead and get into a bit of the deeper stuff we're going to talk about before getting into the movie here. Just a little understanding here. This is at the tail end of the DreamWorks traditional animation, which Mark touched on briefly. DreamWorks obviously started as a rival specifically to Disney at the tail end of the Renaissance there. They started out with Prince of Egypt. That was a massive success, made a lot of money. But what they were finding was, after that, you had Road to El Dorado, and then you had Spirit. Both of those just, they were cascading into failures. On the other end, you had Ants. And Ants actually was a critical success. It didn't make a lot of money, but it was a critical success. People were impressed with the fact that it could compete with Pixar so early at the time when CG animation was still pretty new. You then had Shrek, which was, I mean, you know,
It's Shrek.
It's Shrek.
My boy.
So, like, there was a clear clashing going on at DreamWorks of, all right, well, the money's coming in with CG. Hand-drawn is becoming much less profitable. And so, by Sinbad's point, the writing was already on the wall. There was a pretty obvious sign of, okay, we're probably just going to either close this up or it's all reliant on Sinbad. There's a lot of weight on Sinbad here in what it does. So let's get into the stats, the feature detail there, get into the feature focus. This thing came out again, July 2nd, 2003. It had a runtime of 86 minutes. So this thing's pretty short when you think about it. This thing's a breeze through.
It's even shorter than the...
It's a very tight run. I mean, you talk about, you get rid of the credits there, and you're talking about just something that's about 80 minutes long. We talked about this with the Powerpuff Girls movie. Powerpuff Girls movie, again, you just don't get a lot of time to develop stuff when you're actually dealing with just that short amount of time. Obviously, DreamWorks Animation, this is back when it was SKG. It was based on the old Sinbad the Sailor Tales, and it had a budget, very tight budget of $60 million. They weren't putting a lot of money into the traditional animation at that point. Now, adjusted for inflation, that's $102 million. We're going to move through the production crew here. This was directed by Patrick Gilmore and Tim Johnson. Now, Gilmore actually, he was the director of this movie, but also he was the executive producer on a few of the Medal of Honor games that came out toward the end of that series run, because obviously it's been silent for the past decade and a half. Tim Johnson, though, he's had a bigger run. He actually directed Ants before this movie. He then directed Over the Hedge and Home. Now, Mark loves Home. He loves the Boog Aliens. So that's like, I think his favorite movie, right, Mark?
Yeah, it's about, like, Home is about on par with If. That's my favorite movie.
You had to slide that one in there.
Yeah, fuck you.
So you had writer or was John John Logan. John Logan. Let me get back on track here. He actually was the story writer after this movie. He's the story writer on many things. One of them being Rango. That's one we definitely got to talk about eventually. Rango's legendary. And he actually was the writer on a few Bond movies. He had Skyfall and Spectre. The music was composed by Harry Gregson Williams. This guy actually was the composer for Advanced Warfare over Call of Duty there. He's done a number of scores, including all the Shrek movies, 1 through 4. He did also The Martian and The Last Duel, which came out a few years ago.
Going back to an earlier point, you said like Ants was a critical success.
People were impressed by how well and how quickly they could compete with Pixar.
Oh, was it criticism was the movie?
Critics. Like,
I know the critics like the movie itself.
Yes.
Oh yeah. I gotta watch it.
Fans overall did it's again.
I remember as a kid renting the video and then like turning it off midway because I got bored.
There you go.
I think I watched that movie in school.
It's like this isn't nothing like A Bug's Life.
I've never watched Ants all the way through, but people were impressed because again the big dog was Pixar back in the late '90s, and so Ants doing that was.
I remember back then when if you go through video stores, because Ants came before Shrek.
Yeah.
But you go through video stores, it says like they put a little sticker on there on the DVD or the video saying like friendly creators that brought you Shrek.
I mean, that's how you pretty much, get yourself out there. Like, I mean, it pretty much basically will lead you into the next thing. It's like, once you see that label, you'll just be going like, oh, if they made this, then I know for a fact I'm going to enjoy it. Like, it's
I know what the point it was, but it was funny that they had to backtrack and put it on their old shit so people can actually buy it.
I mean, you got a name like Shrek.
But it's like future proof. It's like, here's this movie we made way after Ants. Check out Ants. I
mean, I'm not even gonna lie. I just think it would be kind of awkward, like, if you didn't see Ants and then it'd be going like, oh yeah, you pick up Shrek and then you pick up something and it'd be go like, from the people who made Ants. Be like, Ants? Ants? What's Ants? I'm just gonna watch this Shrek movie.
From the people that made Turbo. So check this out. Let's go ahead and keep it moving. We're going to run through the cast before we're going to get right into the movie right after this here. Sinbad, of course, Brad Pitt. By the way, these are age appropriate for the years. So this is all people when they were in 2003. Brad Pitt's much older now, but Sinbad...
As they all are.
Oh, as they all are, yeah. Time works only for Brad Pitt, guys. But Catherine Zeta-Jones plays Marina. You have Eris, the goddess, played by Michelle Pfeiffer. You have Proteus by Joseph Fiennes. You had Dennis Haysbert.
Huh? No, I'm pretty sure his name is Allstate.
Exactly, right? Like, when I looked at the credit, I was like, holy it's this guy.
You're in great hands.
You're in great hands. What? Yeah, so he's Kale.
Oh, he's the Allstate guy?
How did you say, you said Maria or Marina?
Did I say Maria?
I feel like you did, yeah.
I meant Marina. I was just blowing through that quick, but Marina. Which, Proteus should have seen signs immediately. Her name's Marina.
What are you talking about? That's Proteus.
It's like, yeah, Proteus. All right, we're going to do a little clip run, and we'll be right back.
The wild cherry frozen float from Burger King. So good, so cold, so wild. Float sold separately. Sinbad is coming into Burger King. Now in every big kid's meal, you can find adventure with Sinbad toys. So much excitement, so much fun, so much Sinbad. You can collect 6
That's some great ass toys.
only at Burger King.
Okay, so before you talk, quick side note: the guy who just did that commercial, straight up, I can't think of his name, but I don't know if anyone's a fan of Shallon Showed Us. That straight up just sounded like Jack Spicer. Straight up, I'm just like, is that Jack Spicer?
Sometimes they get those enthusiastic voices that they know will probably potentially sell toys. Like if you hear a voice that you might have heard from a show or series, it would make sense.
I mean, I want to get Burger King right now.
Exactly. I want that little Mighty Kids meal sandwich right now. That's all I want.
Should have ate breakfast.
Oh man.
I know.
Yeah, here it is. We're gonna keep it moving though. We are now at the feature focus. We're gonna go ahead and just run through the movie, beginning to end. Talk about the key points. Keep it moving. But we got to start, of course, where the games begin. The first thing you see. By the way, one of my favorite DreamWorks introductions of all time is you get the boy on the moon there, and then it transitions into that celestial area there where Eris is. So we get the stage set, we get to the action really quickly. What do you guys think about that sort of introduction where we go immediately right into the title sequence? Now, again, runtime is sharp, so they are moving, but you go, there's not a lot of opening credits there. You just go zoom and you already are there in that celestial space, and within 90 seconds, you're already into the action on the boats. What do you guys think of that?
I think it's great. I mean, if I had to think of this from a kid's point of view, not even the parents, I included the child being taken to see the movie. I'm already enthralled. I'm probably just some type of crazy kid just ready to go oh, Sinbad, and then next thing I'm go oh, look at all the action. So I don't really. I'm so sorry. I'm a guest of a guest. I'm so sorry.
Hey man, that pacing though they wanted that pacing. They were talking about in the commentary, we wanted to have her talk a little more about what's the stage here? How is it being set? What's actually going to be going on? But they were like, this is going to take too long. We don't want her to go on a monologue or whatever. So it's just, hey, she's got a couple creatures, and we're going to drop one right in, and we're going to zoom into the situation, and that's all. She lays it out pretty quickly.
Oh yeah, the DVD.
I feel like if there was a sequel, they probably could have done that. Whatchamacallit. If there was just another big bad, then yeah,
100%,
a little bit more established.
Yeah. So, so we get straight, obviously, into the action there. This movie is one of my nostalgic favorites. One of the first things we get is that awesome first boat, second boat, almost like a chase sequence there, and just. Not to lead into Pirates of the Caribbean, which is one of this movie's competitors, but you get that on the water exciting moment of two ships clashing against each other, and that whole thing's very great. Any thoughts, Mark?
Oh, this was a good action sequence. I'm just gonna be repeating what you just said. It's a fun opening. I like when movies start off with a bang. Don't we start off with what's the goddess name?
Eris.
Eris. Not like she's like looking over the earth.
Yes.
Like that fucking old lady from Power Rangers. How you going to fuck with the Power Rangers today? Like when she looks through her globe and shit.
Rita Repulsa.
There we go. Yeah.
Trivia complete. Yeah, but yeah, man. Like I think the cool thing about this is again, you talk about a movie that had to be done like rather quickly in terms of just putting everything together. Not in terms of production, but just in terms of pacing. There's so much in this movie that's cut for time just to get it out. And one of those is, again, we get the action, the combat, but also you see Sinbad and Proteus have a history. I think this is one of the core pieces of the movie that I wish was a little bit discovered more, because it's a cool little bond for a moment that they have, notably when they're looking at the Book of Peace, because that kind of changes the energy entirely. It's like it goes from this action sequence to, here's an old friend.
MacGuffin.
Yeah, and then also the MacGuffin, the Book of Peace itself, which visually I think is a cool looking.
It's a cool looking book. I wish they explained what it's like. It isn't like messes with the movie's like overall story, but like it's like I kind of wish they explained what it.
The same thing as Mark is saying. I wish they would explain the book more.
Yeah.
I don't know why the clothing in the book has such an effect on the world.
Yeah, so it's
because like the book, because when they closed the book, everything there's earthquake start, but like they just brought the book there. So what was the world without that book?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, where was it all this? Oh, we skipping a lot of stuff, aren't we?
No, we can just keep. We're gonna get to it.
They never fill it in.
Where were they bringing that book from? Like,
that's another thing.
Yeah, it just appeared. I know it. This the MacGuffin that everyone wants.
Yes.
And like Eris waited until the Eris.
Yeah.
Eris is the god of war.
Yeah.
Eris. Why the name so simple? Anyway, Eris. She just suddenly out of nowhere wants to. Why didn't she go to this book at any other point of the time? At this point,
she just likes to cause chaos at random times.
True.
It seems like. I mean, again,
but she's gonna cause chaos anyway.
If you want to get into that bubble, why is she the only one guarding Earth, and why are there other ones? So,
I don't think she's really guarding Earth. I just think she's like fucking with it.
Yes, but then where are the other? You know what I mean? Like it's just her, and there's no other.
She's a Greek god, right?
Yeah.
All right, just had to make.
That's why it's like okay, but again, so you have to acknowledge that again. Even in the commentary, they're like, we don't really explain it. Like they say that in the commentary, like the director and the team around him is like, yeah, we didn't explain it, but we kind of imply that with the book being gone, Syracuse falls into disrepair. Things go chaotic, but again, you only see that marginally. You don't get that at any point explained. So again, that's just because this movie.
And I got another issue. We're going to get to it later with that book too.
If you were anywhere in the world and you shut this book, Syracuse is going to get fucked.
Apparently.
So why even?
Okay.
I got more issues with that book we're going to get into later.
So I want to move on here because obviously I don't want to spend too much time on just one sequence, but I do want to bring up the fact that in this sort of this two-ship combat thing where we get obviously the sea monster.
Yeah.
Cetus is apparently up to that point one of the most difficult 3D CG characters ever rigged in this situation because there are 8 tentacles with millions of joints and they all move around, and this is early 2000s tech. And so this was it. Even though, look, it has not aged well. We can acknowledge that. But for the time, this was a technical achievement that really works.
Here's the thing: the overall art style of the CG or like the movement, it just doesn't blend well with the animation itself. Is the problem? And it's like I know CG is early, but the thing is, these are very talented animators. I'm pretty sure they could have like done this in 2D. It's because they just wanted to use CG and they just did this anyway.
So you know what else?
And it just didn't blend well.
Yeah.
So I got a good comparison. Like a piece of media that uses CG very well is Futurama, and that's on a TV budget. Like their CG, it's not the best, but like they use it on the ships and stuff. And it's like, you can tell it's CG, but it's blending in with the world. This octopus, like, looking at it, I was like, ugh, because it's just like, it's not blending well with its animation or the backgrounds or anything. It's just standing out so much.
Yes. A couple other things about that sequence is So this is the first time, obviously, we see the water. The water is actually, again, it's made digitally. This took 2 years. The water, it took 2 years. The water that we see constantly because we're on a ship, that took 2 years. They had to adjust lighting, they had to adjust how it worked, how it flowed, all of it, how the ship works on the water. That was a process in itself too. And some of the guards are complete just CG models as well. So
there's a lot of stuff I did not notice.
I don't know. That balance of CG and drawn is like, there's
I didn't
so
notice
many
the water
moments.
at all, but I did notice CG.
I want to say the water I didn't notice.
I didn't notice that.
Not at all. So that was such a big.
That's because like that blends well-ish enough because the boats are already CG too.
They are. They were
shots.
complete. All of it. That took a lot of time too. The whole ship is a complete 3D like painted model.
It's when you see. It's when you like see like the 2D characters move around in it like for an extensive amount of time. You start to notice it more.
Absolutely. Yes.
I don't know. I kind of felt like when you started to pay it, it's either paying attention to something too much or a little less. And because your eyes will just adapt and blend with it well where see it. Because this is my perspective, especially with the monster. I feel like the monster, to me, I feel like it holds up well and like I said, you can take my stuff with a grain of salt. So with me just saying this the second time. And this is what I'm going to say this. For the time period it was, what makes it great is that it looks well. And what I think is that because it doesn't blend well, is that it gives it a really good piece of character. Because it just makes the monster that much more devastating. And so like that, like, because you really don't know what a Kraken is, or I don't really think that that's a Kraken per se, but it's going like, this is supposed to be like, oh, holy, it's out of this world. So that's just my interpretation on it.
I agree with it halfway. Whenever the tentacles were involved in the scenes, I think they blended in just fine. Like the monster itself, you could tell is not something that's at all because of what the world itself.
I feel it.
But when it's attacking, when it's swinging around, when it's dragging him underwater, it's something you just like. It's something that just looks like, oh, it's supposed to be there. Because I didn't even, like I said, when he was dragging him underwater, I could. Was it still CG at that moment? Because it
was CG. It was notably CG when he gets pulled. I think that's probably the most notable moment is when he gets pulled in, when the arm goes up. I think
that when he gets pulled up, it's like the CGI is more noticeable when it blended because the water is CGI
underwater.
Underwater, it feels
that's
like
it
kind of looked like it was drawn.
Because it can actually float more than
when it was wrapping around him.
Yeah.
So I do like the idea of it's out of this world, thus it kind of fits in that energy. I do still feel at times as well, with Morg's point, where it's like, oh yeah, like it does stand out, but again, to its benefit, the standout could actually be, again, to its benefit because it's out of its
movie as well, where it's like
all the creatures, yeah.
No, but like it's all blue right here, but then it's all white in a certain area of the wing where some of the thing was tumbling down. You'll see it. We'll talk about it later when we get to
absolutely. So of course, after through all this, Eris brings Sinbad down to her, like just to a space, right? She uses the low point in the ocean, essentially, or sea, because this is the 7 seas. A point underwater to just talk to Sinbad, have him get the book himself. Says, "Hey, you work for me. You can retire, man. This isn't chump change. I'm giving you a real deal here." And so that sways him, and they follow Proteus and the Book of Peace to where it's supposed to go, which is, of course, over in Syracuse. Syracuse is crazy because most of the city's design is not seen at all. Like, apparently this is an entire environment where there's, like, the waterways, like, actually, like, float on these arch pathways, and there's, like, a massive amount of the city that's, like, underneath where the water is. There's a significant amount of design that we actually weren't able to see, just because, again, the pacing just kind of breezes through, and you're there and you're not, right? So you get a couple of the setting design shots, and then you're in the dinner, essentially.
Which I think was that first missed opportunity right there. Where I would love to see Sinbad sneaking up towards that, because they're in a palace, right?
They're in the palace.
So yeah, I wanted to see him sneaking up towards. There's no way no one would have noticed a bunch of pirates walking up towards.
That wasn't clear. So they snuck in there?
No, I was saying I would have loved to seen a scene where they were sneaking up towards the palace.
Or they were just walking in and everyone's
Yeah.
like, "What are you doing
What
here? What are you
yeah,
doing here?"
right.
And like they've been going back
Because
like through
I think
security
that
and
the
then security
guards-
again, then security again.
I was
When they got
yeah.
off the boat, I think the guards would have said, "Hey, you're pirates. You're not getting in here."
Like, I was-
They
yeah.
never had to run away and sneak around until they got to the palace where his friend would have vouched for him.
So I'm gonna say something. I don't think that there was because like in the movie he says because there's a whole like scene where he's talking about like he could be robbing everyone. It's because all the best people are here, right?
Right.
So I would assume that like most of the guards are in the palace directing where the main threat could be and where more the outside guards there's little
Yeah,
so
but-
in a sense that he technically could have snuck his way up here and then by the time it's like what are you doing here?
Still to dock his boat, get off the boat. If there would have been there would have been at least some kind of security.
Just a back and forth. So let's keep.
Yeah,
I do
you guys are like talking about if like they can't be in there because I was under the impression like no one gave a fuck.
Yeah, we're just talking about shit. Could have, would
They did give a fuck because when they showed up, the guards all surrounded them.
Yes.
Yeah, but
So-
that's when they got
But
the
that's when
palace.
that's when they're
Yeah, that's what
right.
I'm saying.
Yes. So
So
there's
I'm saying-
there's a lot of potential establishing situations of hey they're just docking in the city, things like that. But again, short on time with the 86 minutes, it's like man, well they're there. We see Proteus' ship, and then the next thing we see are them in the dinner. We don't see them docking. We don't see them getting to Syracuse. We don't see what other ways they got into Syracuse. We just see that they're in the dinner, or they're at the entrance of the dinner, and that's it.
We also have, like there's also a weird scene of the dog tearing to the food, and I don't like the physics of like slime and muck in this because like, it's too like goopy. It's like when a dog is like going through the food, like it's like everything is just goop. Everything like as soon as his mouth touches like the cake and everything.
I think that's just.
It's a nitpick though. It's not.
So the
Him
interesting
going to the cake was really funny. Sorry, I don't mean to cut
No,
you
go
off.
for it.
The only thing that I'd probably say is that like when he slurped the tentacle, disgusting. That's what I got to say.
There was
Like,
a scene
this-
later on
this
where he
movie
slurped
got some,
something
like-
way worse.
This movie got some weird like goof.
He
physics.
slurped something way worse later on, and I think, oh my god, when I
So
saw
we about to say, Bryan, about the
So something way worse. What?
the eyeball.
Oh. He looked that. Why did he slurp? I thought he was like.
Yeah, he didn't slurp it,
But it was all
he
still.
he
Yeah, that was-
disrespectfully licked that.
That was he was excited to do it. But so the thing about that dog is that's actually late. That was actually Jeffrey Katzenberg who wanted the dog in this movie, and he actually he wanted a dog in the movie. It was actually supposed to be an Akita at first, and then it changed to what type of dog would you say that is? Give me a name of a dog, Mark.
I
You
kind
guys.
of want to say like
Airbud.
That is not. That is not a German. That is not a golden
So,
retriever.
He looks like the dog from Tom and Jerry, like Spike, and I'm trying to go.
There you
I want
go.
to say it's like a
Like a bulldog. I
yeah,
guess.
bulldog. Yeah, there you go.
There
Yeah.
we go. The boom. We won the award.
The
But
dog
Because
lovers
it's,
right
well,
now.
that's because during the table
Dog
readings,
lovers right now, we're just gonna be live.
that's because during the table readings, for no reason, Jeffrey Katzenberg was like, "What's the dog doing?" And everybody was like, "You can't say that, Jerry. There's no dog in here." Oh, well, I'm one. God damn it! What the dog doing? He's gonna keep doing it all day. Just keep reading.
it's like, what's up with these CEOs? Like we talked about Chicken Little. Like he's like, what about short guys? Why are we having a girl? Why are we doing a girl story? Why about short guys? Like, what's up with them? Just changing these stories here, ridiculous. This is where we see Marina as well. Marina's introduction was actually changed. She was going to be on the ship when Sinbad and the crew actually go and for like the beginning of the movie, or at this point only 10 minutes earlier. She was going to be there and punch Sinbad in the face. That was the original plan. Now we see her at the sort of edge of that like deck or whatever you want to call it, column area where you can overlook the entire city, and that's where we first see her. So like that's just changed, but overall like we get the idea of what's going on in the relationship. Proteus is about to trying to marry Marina.
Leave the Kirby alone.
I was fixing it.
I'm not gonna lie, it was a little bit off center. So
Yeah, but of course his dad gets in the way before he could propose, and it is what it is. So she always wants to go out in the ocean. He thinks that she's talking about the architecture, just the sort of it's seeding the idea of two separate paths already, basically, and It's just it feels a little relatable there, or just an honest like conversation. So
It's a nice little moment.
again, Sinbad and the crew, they're there. They're about to go, oh man, we could feast, we can have some fun, this is going to be delicious. And then Sinbad sees her, and he's like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going back. We're getting the fuck out of here. And, everyone's like, I can't believe it. One of the funnier moments, situational humor moments, is, of course, one of the crew members is just taking out all of his stuff. It's like TSA check-in. He's taking out all his stuff. He finally has taken out everything.
Yeah, like...
And he's like, all right, we're going. And he's like, you gotta be fucking kidding me, man. I just took out all these weapons, everything. And he was doing this the entire scene. Like, that's
like, all the other crew members just, like, took out, like, at least 2 daggers each. This guy is taking, like, dagger, like, this little, like, bottle, which I think was either poison or something else. Like, a crossbow. Don't even know where he was hiding that, man. Had a crossbow. Other stuff. And I'm like... Alright, nah, we'll leave it. Are you serious?
That could have been a series of just cutbacks to him, still taking things out.
It could have been, yeah. You could really have stretched that humor out more. But again, this is another sequence that was going to be stretched even a little more as well that got cut back too. And so you wonder how many things, whether we're talking about Sinbad and Proteus talking, whether we're talking about anything that Marina would be doing, all of it, you just, it all comes down to being much slimmer, and you lose a little bit there. There's still some charming moments in that dinner sequence, but you don't get a lot of it. They leave, and Eris sees, oh, well, he's not going to do what I said he's going to do. I'm going to do it myself, which again goes back to the whole point that we talked about earlier. Why would Eris choose to do it now, and when she could have done it anytime, and she could have dressed up as anyone? Because she likes drama and chaos,
but
presumably.
She could have dressed as the king, the prince, and one of those delegates. Delegates.
Yeah.
Any one of them would have caused extreme amount of chaos because they're all owners of their own countries, right?
Exactly.
And they're like, they would want the war.
In fact, there was an issue with one of them where they can't shake hands. Remember? They don't shake hands. And so, like, he's
she
freaking out.
And that would have caused much more chaos than just two friends not getting along.
Yes.
Like,
absolutely.
See?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, because she could have caused, like, way more discord, but I understand why she still had to do it, only because, like, she gave her word, like, she did a little scar on her, I want to say, left shoulder.
Yes.
Yeah, but he already broke it by leaving after he saw Marina.
Yeah, but my thing is, though, like, the word was still bound by whatchamacallit.
Yeah,
like,
but
it was bound by Sinbad, not her. She didn't have to do anything. In fact, she could have just done nothing.
He wasn't fulfilling the contract. He was leaving.
He's the one that's supposed to do it.
I wish we got more remote.
But then she forced him to still do it.
Now that you're just talking about that,
she's the one that forced. Like it's like if I don't know.
Yeah, she asked him to get the book. She got it.
She got the book, right?
And then I'm like, yeah, what was the point? Okay, okay.
Yeah. So, I wish we got more of a moment where Sinbad actually like got close to the book and getting ready to steal it, and then he just like, this doesn't feel right. Because it would have been a better character moment, but like he as soon as he got to the part like, nah, the vibe isn't right, I ain't gonna steal it. And then like, she just does it anyway, and that gives me kind of another problem. My point, like, she can just take the book anytime she wants, just close it anytime she wants.
Apparently,
she can touch it.
She dresses up as Sinbad.
I thought it was going to happen. Like, I couldn't remember the movie. I thought like when she went towards the book and the light or something was going to stop her from touching it.
Yeah. So let's fast forward to the end of the movie. But when Sinbad opens the book fully, apparently a lot of the draft ideas were that the book's light would literally have killed her, but then that would have been pointless because when she takes the book, nothing happens to her. There's no energy that stops her from taking the book when it's in that tower. Which, again, here's another 3D animated, 3D CG animated area with hand-drawn characters.
They could have changed it so that
in that tower. So
they could have changed it so at the end when he was actually using the book to kill her.
Absolutely.
So at the beginning, even though the light didn't hurt her, it was because no one was actually utilizing it to hurt her.
Right. So
probably would still made sense of like just goddesses can't touch the book; they just can't get near it.
Exactly. There's something that's blocking, which is why she would have Sinbad do it. But then it doesn't make sense that then she dresses as Sinbad and then uses it. Either way, so she steals the book. Mm-hmm. She then goes and what is it? Proteus is like. Let me reassess here. Sinbad gets taken into prison because they're like, hey, you're still here and we saw you take it. Or reports are that we saw you take it. And then it's like
Missed opportunity.
Proteus comes in and he's like, you took the book? What the fuck? You took the book. And he's like, I didn't take the fucking book. And he looks him in the eye. He's like, I didn't take the fucking book. Eris did. And Proteus agrees with him.
He says,
I'm gonna, hey Mark, I'm
look
gonna
me
tell.
in
Wait,
the eyes
Mark, can you pause
and
this?
say, did you take the book?
I come from outside or come from?
It's moving. All right. So again, Proteus thinks, so it's fine. All right, you said it, so I guess I gotta trust it.
He looks him straight in the eyes and goes like, look at me and say, did you take the book? No. I believe you.
Oh my God! You know what? You guys didn't see any of it. You guys will see all of it. All right.
I just
No, it's
saw
all good.
the movie a third time.
You did. Third time rewatch. Yeah. So obviously, obviously, as everyone would, you believe the guy that apparently had a history of robbing, and it's like, yeah, you took the book. I guess you didn't take the book. So I'm gonna have Sinbad take the book back, even though he didn't take the book, and I'll have myself potentially killed, and you have all the time in the world of like 3 days. That's it, 3 days. To travel the world, get to Tartarus, save the day.
10 days.
10 days,
Yeah,
not
10,
3 days.
yeah.
10 days. It didn't feel like 10 days because, again, the way the movie structures itself, you don't see that time progress, you don't see the day, night.
Yeah.
So,
Only point we saw it, they
Not gonna lie, if it was definitely sorry. You can say.
No good.
I was gonna say if it was 3 days, definitely would have died. I'm telling you,
Definitely.
would have been gone.
definitely what it is. I think the problem is, like, we only cut back to Syracuse once on the quest. You know what I mean? Like, we only cut back once before the day of
when
death.
the
So it's like, so it feels
bribes them
exactly.
to try to get us under like.
I don't think,
we could just live in exile.
That kind of thing doesn't really matter too much in movies as long as the character establishes like, oh, it's been 5 days. So like in between scenes, like, oh yeah, it's been like 6 days, and we did that like 7 days ago.
It's just weird. It's just sometimes like like there are some movies where like the lighting will be bad, like where there'll be a chase sequence and it'll be dusk, and then they'll get out the car and it's mid-morning and it's like, what?
Yeah, because I think like the time. I think the only time of day was just pretty much basically or at least
During the
talking
journey.
about like the journey of that like time had passed was basically like leaving and then saying they're like, oh no, we're gonna go to Fiji. After that, and then that's when we found out Marina's on the boat, and then it's like, oh shit, how'd you make your way on
There
there?
was a couple of day-night cycles when they hooked the fish, the giant fish.
That was just one, wasn't it?
No, it was two.
Then that would be the second phase of what you go. So we've seen basically
seen a few.
so maybe
I
we've
think
seen
we're
only
overthinking
like
this. I don't think
two or three
I think
day-night cycles.
But I also
for
think
the other
there's still-
7, we didn't see anything.
Yeah, I think there's just so many deleted moments also in this movie that would have shown progression of time that it doesn't really.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think that really matters because like I think the indicator that it's been 10 days is the fact that he's about to be executed.
Yes.
So like that's just for me that was just enough for like it's been 10 days.
That's the 10th day because my thing is that we come back and then he's like, yeah.
That's telling the audience it's been 10 days.
Yeah, but I think it's really more like indicating the days in between. So like basically it's like there's the beginning, then it's like, oh well, where are we at? Then I want to say the bribing scene, we can live in exile. It would be the halfway mark, or if not, leading towards the end.
Well, I get what Mark's saying though. He's saying that you don't need to do any of that because
you can just say it.
But at the end of the he was getting.
Yeah, Mark is completely right, but I'm saying that like on our front of like the indications of like where it leads up to. I'm saying that those are the plot points basically.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna keep it rolling here. So Sinbad, he's like, all right, let's get rolling, but they're going to Fiji. Now you can tell he's kind of not real. He knows like, oh, this is like literally not a good thing to do, but he's going to Fiji. He's like, fuck, I'm gonna just turn my brain off and just go to Fiji, and everyone can just relax. I don't give a fuck. Even though it's off season, and that's what Kale's like. It's like, it's not even season. What the fuck are you doing? Like,
cool.
let's get the fuck over there. Like,
he's like,
all they had is back.
He's like, yeah, but the weather. He's going, but it's mosquitoes.
right?
He's going, and the women this time of year,
They're cannibals. They're cannibals. So of course they're about to go, And Sinbad's like, all right, look, I'm going anyway. But Marina is there.
Which is very risky. She's going on a boat with a bunch of criminals who are the opposite gender. That is extremely risky.
Well, I think the one thing is, I think she knows that Sinbad, I think the Proteus Sinbad thing, because again, Proteus has told. Who's got a nuclear? Oh man, that's okay. But 3.
Don't worry, we're not gonna explode.
That's true. But I think Marina knows though, because knows like Sinbad would make sure nothing would happen to me because Proteus has told me about this and that.
And they kind of trust another guy's word.
Yeah,
it's like imagine if I knew like a shady looking guy like Bryan. He's cool. Trust me, he's cool. I'm gonna leave you two alone, but like trust me.
Again, I wouldn't do it, but again, like I'm just saying, like there's no other reason outside of like she also wants him to be alive. That's the other thing.
I can get that too. It doesn't bother me. It's just like I'm just jokingly looking at that like in a realistic sense. It's like,
realistic sense.
She went on the boat with a bunch of criminals of the opposite gender. Like that's very risky.
Bringing up Pirates of the Caribbean. That's one of the issues there. It's like it's kind of like not issues, but you kind of think about it in your head when Elizabeth Swann goes on that boat with a bunch of pirates. It's like you are putting yourself in serious danger, but does not matter. So again, she's like, look, I'm gonna pay you, and also your conscience obviously says like, come on, we're gonna go. And also, the crew is like, well, Kale specifically, it's like, you get all that, push Sinbad, fuck it, or follow that star, we're going. First thing they get to, like, and by the way, again, this is the pace of this movie. Like, these action sequences just happen very fast, right? You get to the siren sequence over the dragon's teeth, right? That's a really that happens, like, it feels like they are just going boom to boom, like again, because you don't get a sense of time in this movie, so it's like next to next. The only thing is the fish. That's the only time. But
no, I'm saying it's a question about this whole area.
Yes,
the sirens. Is this like a grand line? Was like dividing the world? Because
essentially, because no one apparently has gone past this point.
Okay, because I was like, why didn't you just go around this shit? Because
there's nothing you can't.
Okay, so it's just mountains all the way across.
It's just either mountains or a treacherous area, which is why you saw these so many ancient ships, so many like broken ships, destroyed ships. Nothing is the idea is nothing's past this point, and so even to ideally go through this is insane.
Well, also these are very daring men, and they don't really know what's ahead. So it's like a bunch of scary forces or something like shit. Like, we can do it. We're good for it.
Also, she turns into super capable at this moment.
So
very fast. Yes. Yeah, this is very fast.
First things first. The Sirens, if you're curious, again in the commentary they say this. They're actually naked models when they're not transparent. So someone at DreamWorks was having fun. But yes, so the Sirens come over. The Sirens come to the ship. That's how all these ships don't make it through. It's mystical. It's not just that it's mountains and all that and treachery. It's like there's a mystical thing about it that causes these ships to then go. And I guess no woman gets affected by it. I'm just saying. I guess no woman gets affected by it.
If you had a crew full of women,
they would have been fine, most likely. Or they
apparently the spell only works on men.
Because my Eris don't swing that way.
That's what
I feel like if this is magic, it would just still work. It's just like I'm just assuming the supernatural spell only works on men.
I believe the original plan was like there was even going to be a female dog version, but they never got that far. So yeah, but there was never going to be one for Marina because the whole point was she was going to save the ship. Now she could have been, because we don't know how much time has passed, so maybe she was looking at and just studying everything that was happening on the ship until they get to the Dragon's Teeth. But because the Dragon's Teeth is literally 30 seconds after, it's like 30 seconds after, and then they just get there. It's like,
she sailed a ship through treacherous waters by herself, a thing that with several crew members had to do together.
Don't forget Spike.
Oh, let's not forget.
She also lassoed the guy, yeah, from the water, yeah. So
I get what they're going for back then. I wouldn't have cared back then, but now.
Well, I think if this movie came out now, there'd be so many people online. I can't believe this.
I'm not.
How dare you? Because
it's just
I'm
noticing
just saying,
it.
like, but because it's a nostalgia, like, I never thought about that in my brain as a kid, but I think if it came out now, I might even have thought that myself. But because of my nostalgic glasses, I kind of don't. Let's let's keep
what really would have happened was go like, how come Sinbad's not a woman? I'm sorry for the family.
I'll get to the
I'll get Sinbad 2.
No, I'll get to the better part after this scene.
Yeah,
Sinbaddy. Okay, let's move on.
So at the, by the way, this thing again, talk about the movie moving. But this is a very quick thing. Apparently, this was actually going to be twice as long as the final cut. So we're gonna keep going through this thing, and then there was gonna be more progression, and then you get to that action sequence. At the very end of this sequence here, you actually have water going upwards. That was another technical challenge. Of course, it's 2003, or I should say during the time of development. That's 2 years of development before. So this is early 2000s, where you have to try to have the ship float on water. You have it going upwards. You have weird angles. So either way, that took time. The ship gets out, which every time I see this movie, when I see that ship fly out, I feel like it should sink after that, just because that's a lot of damage coming out. That little cliffside there, when it just shoots out and then smacks the water.
I thought it was riding along the weapons.
It was riding along the belly of another ship. That's what if you saw that all that.
She said put the weapons out. I thought that's what she was. So what was the point of putting the weapons?
Oh no! I'm sorry. She's using the weapons to slash a bunch of the wood of the ships that were in that blockade area. That's what the sharp things were doing. They were
That made a lot of
that.
sense. Whatchamacallit.
And then it rides on the bottom of a hull of a wooden ship.
And
then it flies up, which again, after all that damage, it should just go bloop, and then but does not. It stays up, and they keep going, and everyone sees that Marina saved the crew, and the crew loves it for it. And Sinbad's like, I can't believe it, and he's just trying to find something to
I hate women.
But like it's like, look, I stole those. How dare you? And this, so...
You think I'm gonna thank you? I'm still a misogynist! Get out of here!
So they clearly want Sinbad to go through this character progression of, hey, you know what? Women do belong on a ship. But I think it's all...
Get back in the kitchen!
I think it's all just tongue-in-cheek. I think that he's actually... It's more about the fact that in the movie, of course, this is someone that he actually likes significantly, but he finds uncomfortable with the fact that she just tagged along on this quest anyway. He doesn't want to do it, and she just kind of forces it along. So he's losing control in a way of this journey. So next stop, obviously, again, we're talking about quick moving. We don't know how much time passed again, but here we are, giant fish, right? They stop on an island because stuff's broken. All right, let's get pieces. They don't realize it's a giant ship. By the way, at the same time, the crew is like leaning more on Marina's side. Did I not say fish?
Yeah, you said it's a giant ship.
It's a giant fish.
Anglerfish to be exact.
Thank you. So
which had his eyeball licked by a dog.
Indeed, but it was.
Is that the same creature from Strange World?
It could be, because no one remembers that movie. I do. I don't want to, but either way. But yeah, like the crew is.
Oh no, that was a turtle. Fuck, never mind.
The crew is
I just remember.
Yes, the crew is increasingly leaning on Marina's side. By the way, so again, he does not like this. Sinbad and Marina get into a fight. They start chaos. She lifts up a thing. It's a part of the eyelid, and that becomes again another little sequence here. Nothing is really slow moving in this movie. They get off the fish. They get on the boat, and I think this is a fun little thing. It's like, let's just hitch a ride on this thing. It's following the star, which love the idea of, again, anglerfish, like you said. So it drops its light, which obviously it's in deep depths usually, but it drops its light and it goes straight to night, which is a weird thing. It's like, how much time does that control? That actually opens more questions than answers. Because
it's a time-controlling fish.
It's a cool design, but it's like, does this like... Is that literally the day like there, or is it that just because they're on a quest sent by Eris? Like, or they're going against it? I don't, again, cool idea in concept. All right, so any thoughts on this fish sequence?
Nope.
I just have like little one thing that I just thought was weird. Really nothing. It was really just more like the retracting trees was just like, what? Like, I don't know why this had to not just be a mountain. I don't know why. What you got? The trees retract, and it's like the one of the. It's like creepy, just with the not like weird. I don't know. I just thought it was strange. Like when I just saw him like just slurp back into his skin.
It's like off-putting?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
And I was like, why did we do that?
It also.
Like, all that should have just been algae, but I know what they were looking for.
Yeah, that would have. I think keeping the green would have looked a lot better because again, that goes back to this is technology that's. Look, I think it looks overall good, especially the rear shot when you're watching the boat basically do like this cool skateboard effect back and forth, and it's being it's just trailing the fish. I think that actually looks pretty good. It does it. It holds up pretty well. The water holds up pretty well. All that holds up well. I think. When they're running off the ship, though, all the textures on the ship, when they're running off the fish, all the textures on the fish kind of look a little like dated. They don't look as good. They're not as detailed. You know what I mean? Like, so that's one of the issues that are on my end. But yeah, they ride the giant anglerfish, and yeah. Apparently, by the way, the scale of these shots was like they had to take a lot of work on that. So, all right, moving on. During this time, of course, they pull off the fish. We see that Sinbad and Marina are now more comfortable than ever. Like they're getting more comfortable. They're laughing, chuckling it up, and all that stuff. So it's like it's like, all right, in this 86-minute feature, we can't have a lot of long pauses. So here's another moment, brief moment. Boom, they do a little chuckling. Oh, their relationship's getting a little closer. And again, immediately we get into the icy area, right? She causes ice, but again, this whole setting is so quick. Like, we go from the fish, and immediately we're in another setting. Immediately, like they trail off and are in another setting that becomes the ice area, right? You know, and again, during that little brief talk, they actually do have a little bit of a Proteus Sinbad backstory tale. But again, we don't get a lot of that because in this movie, we're all moving fast. You know, like, we have this creature called the Rock. I didn't realize that the bird was called the Rock. I just called it like a hawk, but when I was a kid, it's the Rock. But you know, that thing appears, and then there's this whole sequence of Marina gets taken, and then Sinbad uses a harpoon, it's cool, to shoot his way up, saves her. And there's this awesome downhill chase. It's one of my favorite parts of the movie.
It's basically from Aladdin. What's that scene? With the lava.
Most likely, it's probably similar. Yeah. Yeah. By the way,
when they're escaping.
By the way, did you know that Sinbad apparently is an Arabian character? Because I didn't know that this whole time. Because you could not tell me for shit that that's true.
I wanted to ask. I don't know.
I only know that because
was Eris like were those Greek gods in that area too as well? Mm-hmm. Okay, cool.
Yeah, the only reason why I know that is because of I think there's a book called The Arabian Nights and stuff like that, and this also has to go with like Sonic and the Secret Rings. They talk about that with the Arabian Nights and stuff like that, and yeah. Because believe me, I would have never thought that. I just thought that was just some type of just pirate, pirates. Yeah, right. And which God is like, oh yeah, you know, he's also an Arabian character. Would have never guessed.
Would not have guessed at all.
If there wasn't a Sinbad in the Aladdin movies, it probably was in the Aladdin show somewhere.
Yeah. So during this downhill chase again, this is another technical moment where it's like again the creature, by the way, is obviously a full CG creature. You got this mostly CG creature for most of the shots, combined with hand-drawn characters, and again, there's a constant handoff. So there's some moments where you have the characters in CG, sometimes they're hand-drawn, and you know it's a cool back and forth there. Good technical attempt. Again,
it looks a bit better than some of the other like CG stuff they had to fight because this one actually has like textures.
I will say that what you know, the bird or the bird chase. I think the bird is probably the most dated creature.
For me, it's the octopus. It's definitely the octopus.
I feel you. So the structure collapses, by the way, and this clears just a path. Like, so the situation is they're stuck in ice. I didn't mention that. They're stuck in ice, but after this, again, it's like a video game. We're just going through these so quickly, where it's like, they get through the chase, the thing collapses, boom! Keep it going, next!
Oh yeah, the Kingdom Hearts 3 steals like the snowboarding section of this movie because you slide on when you're in the I think it's in the Frozen world, and you slide on Goofy's shield to like snowboard.
It's crazy. So, all right. So we finally get a brief moment of pause here, where Marina tells Sinbad about her love of the sea and her dream to travel and all this stuff, and Sinbad tells Marina, "Hey, I liked you, but you were going to be engaged to
Proteus.
Thank you, Jesus. What is happening here?
And I don't know if he's cuck yet. Maybe he is.
And so,
maybe I don't know if he's in that sort of thing.
And so, like,
he just said
bro. It's
he just said what I was thinking the whole time.
oh my god.
wait,
like
you talking about Sinbad?
No, Mark. What did you just say, Mark?
But I don't know if he's a cuck yet.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was saying. I'm like,
I find now, I'll get back to you.
I was thinking like this is extremely cucky. Like what he's doing right now. This is
Simpish or cuck? Because again, I think they're in the same lineage, but like I think it's more simpish.
But he's engaged to the girl. He's engaged to Proteus. She's engaged to Proteus.
Yes.
If anything, honestly, it's more really NTR than really cuckish. And the reason, okay, so I'm going to say this.
NTR for the audience.
So
No, NTR for the audience.
oh, I'm not explaining that. You look that up. I'm not explaining that.
What you explain?
I don't even know what it is.
Even if it's NTR, it's worse. It's NTR.
Okay, anyway, so the reason why I don't think that it's cuckish is because my thing is that, like, what is it? Proteus does not know what's going on at sea. Like, he's just waiting
that's
for...
the point.
My thing is that he doesn't even know that Marina's on the fucking boat.
Yeah,
that's the thing. So my thing is that it can't really be an act of cuckness and what's going like to be cuck. You got to be there. You gotta be bitched out when
that's
being
NTR. When you have to be there because you have to get the emotional damage. You have to get the emotional damage.
Bro, my joke. My joke was that like he doesn't know if he's a cuck yet, so that's why he's not going through with it.
Oh my god. Anyway, so the reason why I say it's more simpish because one, the whole crew is fawning over Farina. Yeah, like so is Sinbad. But like he got feelings, but like he ain't doing what the crew doing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go like, oh well, I need a knife. You can use my knife. That's what the fuck was holding. There was more simp shit going on than
I'm talking about Sinbad, not the fucking crew.
Even. Sin ain't no cut. Proteus ain't no cut. That's just my opinion. How y'all want to take this when y'all see the movie?
I'm gonna wrap this. All I'll say about this is I could understand a pirate being simpish just because, again, you're out on the water for a long time. You don't see any females, and then here's a female on the boat just walking around, and you're just, oh my god, like that. I understand that. But like again, it doesn't make you feel a little more like it doesn't make you say like, oh, hey, fuck you, Sinbad, a little bit, but because again, that's your friend, and you're just like, you know what, this is my opportunity. She's on my boat, I'm gonna hit.
If anything, because he technically didn't do that. He kept to his word. He didn't really like get in too close.
No, he didn't. But it's getting there.
It's getting there, but my thing is still
it's getting there.
He tried. She turned him away.
He's a bro. He didn't.
Oh, he did. Yeah, he did try.
He did try
because he literally tried to get started at the steering wheel.
Never mind. He's a horrible bro.
Because after she admitted stuff, then he admitted stuff.
He tried to,
and then she's like, no.
She pushed him away.
Sinbad is definitely a gentleman because he's a pirate, and like, I assume realistically, the first meeting with what was the guy's name again?
Eris.
The first meeting with Eris, he'd be like, "Oh,
See, but the difference is again, like, there's this idea where this has been a person that he's been interested in for like 20 years, apparently, right? Like that's the whole tale. And let's need to get out of here.
No, wait. I was gonna say something. I was about to say, look, Sinbad was looking for treasure. And it was in Tartarus, but let's just say there was some more treasure, some booty, if you know what I'm saying. If you know what I mean.
All right, let's keep it moving. All right, so again, talk about quick. It goes from the sequence in ice to we're just sailing to Tartarus. Boom.
We're here.
The world opens up, right? And by the way, again, so the interesting thing about Tartarus was that originally you had a couple different options. They wanted to do like maybe there was going to be a swamp with Medusa at the gate. There was going to be
get out of the swamp.
There was going to be like doppelgangers or like a mirror image of Sinbad and Marina, and they had to fight each other to get through the gates. And the final decision was, I think, the best one, which is just this idea of the edge of the world. Now, doesn't make sense. Who gives a fuck? It's a cool looking thing. That's all that matters.
It is.
So like I always thought this is the coolest
was flat.
looking thing ever. The what?
That was a joke.
I know. Say it again.
Told you it was flat.
I thought you said.
And they won a bet.
No, I thought you just said the edge of the toilet was flat. And I was like, what the fuck?
No.
What?
Yeah. So
no, I just like the flat Earth joke.
So apparently, this Edge of the World piece was actually the first big CG project of the entire movie. And again, like you're talking about working with water going upwards, because of course at the edge of the world the water's splitting directions, and they wanted to make sure that looked good. You had the ship and everything, like it had to be all 3D, fully like painted everything, because you're dealing with angle here, angle here. You're seeing the underside of the boat when it's floating in the air. So yeah, you get to Tartarus, and you get these very cool sequences. The sand sequence, by the way, almost wasn't in the movie at all. Even though that's to me, it's like a video game cutscene, because you're going through. Now you're basically seeing the fall of Syracuse. That's the idea. Is you're seeing Syracuse when all of this happens. You see the bottom of the tower is actually in disrepair. You see that in Tartarus, but again, like it looks more like a tech demo, because it just goes down, like So Sinbad and Marina, did you pause it? Also,
no.
You don't have to cut to me every shot.
No, so you don't see me doing that.
Oh,
so you're gonna have a good spot.
You're pausing. All right. All right. So Sinbad and Marina, Sinbad and Marina meet Eris in Tartarus, and it's like you have these moments where again this character just is a cool looking design, very flowy. They utilize that 2D animation very well, the hand drawn nature of it, and there's some CG areas.
I'm surprised how tame they are, because she has no cleavage. She's had a long chest.
Yeah.
She had a bathtub scene.
Yeah, no cleavage still.
Yes. Well, she's in the bathtub, so
No, but still, usually people would just add a line up to there.
That's true.
It's just like a long chest. It was like there was a bathtub scene, but besides, I guess you can assume the legs, it didn't feel like it was meant to be sexual.
Absolutely. To a degree. Yeah. I mean, she's in a bath. I mean, I would assume that's sexual. Somewhat.
Yeah.
Some sort of sensual attempt.
Definitely some leg.
She's in a bathtub, and she got her toes out. Someone paused on that sequence and just looked at those toes. Not me. Wasn't me. Don't look at me. All right. So she asked Sinbad, "Hey, just I'm gonna ask you a question, and just tell me, or I'm gonna ask you a question, answer it honestly, and you can get the book. All right? Like you came all the way up. You came all this way. Most people fucking die. So congrats. Answer this, and you win." Originally, by the way, it was going to be a series of questions going up a flight of stairs, but they thought that was a little too game showy. So they were like, one question on a platform. That's it. And
that's really the ending of Banjo-Kazooie. When you get the evil witch is called Gruntilda. When you get to Gruntilda's lair, before you can the final boss with her, she makes you do a Mario Party board game. You have to answer questions to get further.
A little Banjo. Never mind.
It was the first Banjo-Kazooie because I never finished Banjo-Tooie.
So, of course, it's failure at getting the book, because obviously we all know Sinbad actually doesn't necessarily want. It's like he can't win though, because he doesn't want to die, but he doesn't want to. He just isn't there yet. Also, he wants to fuck Marina at this point. So it's like there's some sort of backstabbing somewhere. Either way, he fails at getting the book, and By the way, after that, what's funny is I don't have the scene. I don't have that scene where they're on the little moat or island, but Marina's like, "Don't die, I love you," and it's like you're 3 minutes ago, because it feels like that in this movie. You were at a party with your future husband. What the fuck? Now I understand a bit, but not really, because that's quite massive.
Get the fuck out of here.
Quite massive.
She's getting sealed.
I love you? I love you?
I cringe at this point. No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I was not a fan of this romance at all in this movie. Let me say that I was not a fan of this romance.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah.
It was. I was like, yo, no. Yeah. I'm not for this.
I don't know. It's just one of those situations where it's you're betrothed and whatchamacallit, and no pun intended, Sinbad was the fish that got away, you know what I mean? And then now he just comes back and is going oh, maybe I got a second chance. I'm sorry, do you not have one of these on your face?
His line should have been, "I love you too, like a sister."
stares directly at the audience and shit.
Like really gets into
I
it,
love
too.
you
really,
too.
yes.
Just
Platonically.
holds at the shoulders. Marina, I love you too. Like the sister I've never had.
No, he should have stood up for. I love you too. Platonically.
So I just realized our answer to the 10 days. It probably was 5 days to get to Tartarus, and then they had to sail back.
Wish they had to go through all that bullshit again.
But
That totally makes it what only. Well, never
But
mind.
that would have been an awkward 5 days where she says "I love you" and then they're just taking 5 whole days just sailing back in silence.
So about that "I love you" bit, what the fuck was with that? Like,
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
no. That's what their conversation like on the show.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so are you serious about that?
What?
you since you got to that point, you now have waypoints along the way, so you could just teleport back.
No,
to
that's what the movie does.
That's what it
That's
is.
not
I'm
what
saying.
they did.
That's what it is. They waypoints. They got the waypoint. Now they can teleport back to the beginning.
No.
Now the whole journey
Alright.
took 10 days. It's like in the Muppets movie how they explain how they get to London is they travel by map, and it's like every time they travel by map it just zooms out to a map and just a red line going there.
There you go.
So like that's what happens. They travel by map.
They travel by Indiana Jones style.
Yes.
Zoop zoop. Yeah. All right. So obviously we get toward the end there. Proteus almost gets fucking decapitated, but they wanted to. By the way, how long do you think they were there? Like, oh fuck, they could have just told the guard at the bottom of the thing, "Hey, we're here," but like instead they're like, "We're gonna make this fun. We're gonna get there right when the fucking axe
And
is like the
somehow
range is when the
that
fucking
dagger was able to cut that axe in half.
I mean, it could have been that, or it could have just been like they're up on this upper level where like everyone's seeing like this grand like death execution. There's a guy on like the fucking the deck. What you got? They're here. They're here. Stop the execution.
Yeah.
No, they didn't
It's
say
go like,
that.
you said the guy still just holding it. They're here. I said they're here.
No, like so many things that happened. They probably were there the whole time. Like, wait, I'm gonna have my moment. And like, what could have happened? If he threw the knife, he misses.
He stabs one of the audience members in the distance. Hey, we got a death. All right, we did it. No, but maybe the guy wanted a payday. Maybe that's why. Maybe the guy, the decapitator.
Also, he magically gets a sword.
No, I think they just had.
No, I think he couldn't. If anything, he probably had the whatchamacallit, and then like maybe the sword was just like on his hip.
Oh, I hope so.
Because that would make the most sense. But then like, I'm just saying that like even though he probably like heard everything right, he's going like that. It's just been a long time since I really executed somebody. Just fucking. Just
No,
fucking.
what could happen? What could happen if he?
This.
What could happen if he cuts the axe and the axe just lands on his head anyway? Fuck.
So Proteus gets saved by his knife, by the knife,
Dagger.
obviously, the dagger slashing the axe. But then he has to look up and see that Marina was on the boat, and it's like, but he doesn't react. Obviously, he's like, "Hey, you saved my life here." But still, you gotta wonder in the back of his head, why is Marina in that group there, in that group photo? Why the fuck is we were looking for you, bitch. Why didn't you show up in my fucking prison cell? I see now why. Okay. Anyway.
Were you fucking?
So, yeah. So,
We got it.
I feel it. You like it's there?
No. I'm telling to make the what you call it.
Oh, the color.
Go ahead. Yeah, cool. All right. Yeah. So, we're almost there. We're so close. All right, let's finish this up. Yeah. So, Sinbad accepts his fate. He's like, "Hey, bud, I appreciate that. You were about to die, and I waited that long. But now I'm gonna do that, and sorry, bud, I couldn't get the book, and now it looks like he's just a fucking liar that had a redemption arc, by the way. If you think about it from just Proteus' perspective, like
Not really, because
he was lying the whole time. He probably got rich and he's gonna give it to someone else, and then he sees Marina there, and it's like, did Marina get the money from the book, and that's why he's killing himself? Who knows? Either way, so he goes. He got the big old sword, and Eris shows up. Cool effect. You get a CGI hybrid, CGI hand-drawn hybrid with that tornado. She comes in. She's like, "I can't fucking believe you actually got here. You are stupid. You were supposed to leave." And he's like, "Hey man, you can't believe. Wait a minute. I'm the right guy. I'm in the right place here. I was supposed to be here." So, yeah, like Eris actually gives Sinbad the Book of Peace, and Eris leaves. Now there were a couple different ways. They again, the whole thing was, again, like how do you structure the defeat? Because there's a couple different ways you could structure that defeat. It's just that she was supposed to be bound by her word, so they find that, make that work. There's a great rotation shot with this book. It reminds me of the end of Atlantis, where you get a good 360 shot. That's a pretty cool shot with the book there. It shows how apparently the book has this like godlike power. Basically, it's a super Bible where everything turns back into color, or more color. Apparently, it was a different time of day because it was it looked like it was dawn, and now it's like super regular day. Once the book opens up and all the light.
The book looks like hollow or a window to an infinite universe from the inside. I wonder if you can just jump in it.
Maybe that's the book WandaVision's. Wanda was looking for in
the dark
multiverse
hole.
The dark. Maybe that's the opposite of the dark hole.
The light hold. Wait,
It's the
no,
light hole.
they actually had a real name for it in the multiverse madness. I just can't remember. I only said light hold because it's the opposite of dark. Yeah. It's just,
What about that book?
Maybe the light grabs, right?
What about the book the main villain in Wish uses? Is that?
Oh God! Why did that movie can?
That's a fucking dark hole.
That is.
The opposite of a dark hole would tell me the light release.
There you go. So,
How much time we got into the Uber?
We got
5 minutes.
All right.
Yeah,
Wait. So
So what
let's
do you
just
guys think? Yeah.
let's just get his. We'll just continue as normal. Let's just get his final thoughts.
No, both of them. Final ones. Yeah.
No, we'll do me first. What you got?
Wait, you're leaving too, Martin?
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta help my dad.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay. But yeah, both of them.
Yeah.
All right, go on.
All right. So, guys, what do you think about the final thoughts of the movie? This was definitely not edited in seconds. Go ahead.
So the movie was great. I think it holds up, even though there's some cracks you can see compared to the technology we have nowadays. I wasn't a fan of the romance, like I said earlier, at all. That's the one low part of the movie I just not agreeing with. But as for everything else, I do feel that at the end she gave up way too easily.
Yeah.
Like she just like, oh, I'm done with this. I'm moving along. It's like if she gave up in a way that made it seem like, what the fuck did you do this all in the first place for? Because you just don't care. You moved along to some other place in the world and caused chaos there. I think it's just like, was it just like a mourning for you?
A human nature drama moment?
You didn't care, but I did. There's also the diversity is I did like the fact that they could just talk it out. It was like, I do like those situations you can just talk them down. Like it wasn't no big grandiose fight. Like that's something that I can appreciate back then. When it was probably one of the only movies who did this that don't have a big dramatic type of fight at the end.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my thoughts on it. Still like it.
Yeah, so for seeing this like a second time and then that accidental speed run of the third time, definitely great. Pretty much very nostalgic, but I don't think that nostalgic is like something that's like carrying the opinion. I genuinely think it was just still great from childhood. Just pretty much really good all around. What you call? I think that the romance was just. It honestly, I think it was very trivial. What you call? I don't think it was really nothing major. What you call? A simplistic happy ending. What you call? No cuckery, at least on my part. No cuckery.
0 out of 10 cuckery.
But was Bro Code's breach? Yes. But did he make it right? Yes. On her end, Sister Code was actually no. There was no what you call. She was. I don't know if she was in her right. What you call? I don't know. Just an old fling just came back and what you call. I don't know. It sounds like a college situation to me. Other than that, solid movie. Would definitely recommend to someone to watch it. Really great. As long as you're not really hooked up on like CGI visuals. I know like everyone's like that. Like I said, I enjoy the story for what it is. What you call. Turn your brain off if you're one of those people. Just turn it off.
And where can we find you guys? Obviously, the Sir himself. You can only find him at ScreenBlast, or find him where can they find him?
Like I said, I'm a guest. What you call? I just met Bryan and Mark for the first time. What you call? Really good to be here. Just can't wait to be here for the second time. You can find me when you find this guy. Mostly.
Not gonna be a second time. You're banned.
I don't like Mark. Say no.
You don't like me.
But I do gaming. So what you call? I'm just not going to promote it. Then what you call? The time and place will come when you will figure that out.
So both of you are. We cannot reference places to.
Yes, I'm a YouTube anonymous guy. So yeah.
That's
Oh
what.
no, I have a plug for you guys. I have your whole address right here. Let me read it out.
You two guys, when you find a
1510 Avenue.
when you find a joyous comment when everyone's hating, that I will be there.
Appreciate you guys for being here.
We're good.
Through the power.
Oh Jesus, where the? No, okay.
So I'm just telling you, through the power of magical editing, we have been adjusted. We've lost our what happened?
Okay, so a little behind the scenes, we had a couple of disagreements with our guests, and like I just, after looking at them for too long, I started to get angry. I started fighting them, and then they had to be escorted out.
And we don't have any footage.
Even though I started it, but
Yeah.
like, hey, my show, I'm the star, so I have the power.
I mean, where's the footage of this?
Future Bryan will edit this in, right? He'll edit it in.
Hey, yeah, guaranteed. You know it. That's definitely true.
All right, come right here, just like.
But of course, in reality, guys, we were short on time. In fact, that was why we were blowing past a lot of the Sinbad story moments, just because time on their side was running short. So we were knocking stuff out, getting through, and so all we have left is just a little bit of discussion on the wrap up of the movie, and that's really it. We'll wrap up both the movie. We'll talk about Cyclops Island still. A few other pieces on a couple other topics, and then wrap up this cartoon chat. So, Mark, in terms of the end of the movie here, which you saw very recently, in fact, very, very recently. So, when, you basically have, again, Eris gives Sinbad the Book of Peace, and he opens the book, and it turns everything angelic, basically. And it's like, all right, cool, like whatever, like the book. And again, as a kid, you're like, oh, that's cool, victory, yeah. Like, but again, more, it's just there. We then have again, like Proteus is happy, but then he sees Marina over there, and it's like, what the fuck,
Okay, so Proteus is a prince, right?
Proteus is a prince.
Yeah, I've been meaning to say this for a while. So like, there's kind of like some homosexual energy with Proteus whenever he's talking to Sinbad.
Yes, people have shipped
And
that.
it's not coming from it's just mostly coming from Prometheus end. Sinbad's just sort of there, but like Prometheus, there's like kind of a
Proteus?
That's his name?
Yes, Proteus.
Yeah,
Not Scroteus, not Prometheus. Proteus.
I said Proteus.
Yeah.
As I said. Proteus is from Mad Max.
That's right.
But Proteus is there's some kind of homosexual energy when it comes to him, like in his relationship with Sinbad.
There's, I don't know if I think you could code it that way if you'd like. I feel.
I don't think that's the intention, but it feels that way. That's what I'm getting.
I didn't see. I saw it more as him really trying to return this bond of an old friend again. I don't see it as just like, oh, it goes straight to that. I really do feel like it's just imagine like an old friend that you haven't talked to in years, and it's like, I really would like for us to go back to a point where we can talk again. That's and it's been like 15 years. That's the energy that I get. Whether it's that prison, when he's in prison, when Sinbad's in prison and he goes there and talks to him, or he's talking to him on the boat in the beginning of the movie, or at the end of the movie and he's talking to him briefly, like all those moments, it feels more like, man, like I would enjoy if we could be friends again, not, hey, I really want to fuck you right now. Like, not that,
No, it's not that. It's just more of like, I guess how like sensitive he is with their friendship.
Tension. I don't see any sensual tension there.
It's more, especially like
that's where I would
the
say
way their relationship is throughout the movie, because like they meet, like the first meeting is like two exes are like meeting back with each other when they're like,
or old friends. I think you're
When I think of, like,
two friends. That's like if two friends meet, and if I saw a friend at my job a couple weeks ago, and it's like, wow.
But yeah, but it's not like that.
Well, he also knows that he turned into a fucking criminal. That's the other thing you're missing out. Like, Sinbad went from, yeah, we're cool. Like, it went from, yeah, we're cool friends to, hey, there's that guy that we used to be really like really like cool friends, and then like he started doing crimes and shit, and there he is. He's robbing my boat. He's robbing fucking my boat. This guy. That's the difference. Like I don't think it's like anything gay coded. I mean, it could be.
It's not. I'm not saying it's coded. I'm just saying that's what unintentionally it feels that way.
But that you're saying it's coded that way. If you're saying that it feels that way, that's what.
Unintentionally.
But again, I see it more again long.
Because I know this is not what the filmmakers intended to do it, but like this is like that's the way they're just kind of making it feel. Okay, I don't see it like as like I don't see it like a Buzz and Woody sort of thing. It just like it's more of just the way it's just Prometheus on his end. Proteus. Just the way Proteus just like it acts towards Sinbad. Not the way Sinbad acts for Proteus, just the way Sinbad acts.
Yeah, exactly. Again, yeah.
Especially like with the whole like he looks into his eyes and stuff.
I think he is a soon-to-be king. I think he's looking for honesty in Sinbad. That's the whole point. Is how do you look for honesty in a man? You look him in the eye, and this is older. This is an older way of doing things. Like, but yeah, you look him in the eye. You don't have a tax return to look at. You don't have a credit score to look at. You look at him in the eye, and it's like, is he telling the truth? And that's it. I think you're attaching something that's not there to a potential bond that was there as friends in the past.
I am attaching something that's not there. I'm just saying that's the way it looks. I know that's not the intention. I know that's not the intention, but they unintentionally made it look that way.
Like it's like the difference between Raya, which literally purposefully coded it, versus like where they had them talk, where they had the one girl with the comb over like talk almost in a sensual fashion and all of that, and the way that she would be interested in Raya. That's the energy where it's like that's a little more coded. This. I didn't see it. That's all I'm saying. But, just different perspective. It's, it is what it is. So Proteus, again, like, we get to the point where Proteus accepts Marina's wishes, and that's got to be tough, where he's like, yeah, I kind of get it. Yeah, because he's like, when they're on that rooftop again, and he's like, yeah, and she fell in love with someone. He's like, I saw right through you. You're fucking crying because he's leaving, and you're fucking sad and all that shit. I see you. There's no fucking way you're gonna be living in my castle, bitch. You're fucking crying over this guy. All right, fine. Now, funny thing though is, originally they were going to have Proteus have a girl by the end of the movie, because but they thought that would make him look a little like sleazy, so they didn't do that because that would have been quick. That would have been very quick. But he is a king, so there would have been something else lined up rather quickly anyway. Yeah. Yeah. So. Sinbad and the crew cast off, and Sinbad's all glum. He's like, man, I can't believe, look, I get to adventure, but I can't fuck the girl that I want because she's gonna be over here, and I can't be over here all the time, so I'm leaving. Basically, he's all glum. He is really glum about the fact that he cannot bang Marina. That is the end of this movie. He is very upset.
Like, no, everyone's upset that they don't get to bang Marina.
Everyone on this boat is like, oh. But the water's boring now, which, again, they're pirates. They should be like, I'm off to get some, I don't know.
Like, Dan, like, is everyone blue ball? Jesus.
They're in a city. They should be able to find some cheeks somewhere in this massive city. Again, we don't get a lot.
Or, like, look forward to more adventures. Like, they saved the fucking day.
Like, I think it would have been better if they were already optimistic. I think they do drag a little bit too much on... yeah.
I know, they just came from, like, an extreme adventure.
Yeah.
Like, they should be, like, celebrating that. Like, the fucking hot chick ain't coming with us.
Yeah, it's like, why would they... They're definitely more than capable of getting that, I'm sure. Especially since they've been around the world, apparently. The way that they're talking about, like, they've been here, they've been there, they've been, So, I don't know.
It's where that they're all... Because it should have been, like... They're just, like, optimistic, like, oh, well, like... It's cool that we saved the day. Let's go on this. But their happiness extends when she shows up. Like,
yeah, like it adds on to this glorious moment of like we did all of this. We saved the king. he's gonna owe us, like, some joke like, he's gonna owe us later.
We beat a god.
Like, we beat a god. And, like, but that's not the energy. The energy is like a fucking funeral because we didn't get the clap cheeks today. Like, so, but in fact, she somehow is at the top of the fucking boat. Who knew? How? Who cares? She's there. And Sinbad just is so fucking, like, I was gonna say happy. He's like horny. He's like so fucking happy because he's like staring up at her. Thank God, because I was gonna be bored on this boat. And so, you know, like, he goes up there and they make out, and then fucking Spike comes in, and then all the pirates come up and start kissing me out. It's not how it goes.
She's going on a ship with the opposite gender.
Yeah, so, and that's how the movie that's how it ends. Like, literally ends.
But now, like, his like, ex-lover and his friends are leaving, so, like, the Proteus is just kind of lonely there.
Well, again, I think the idea was, like, if this got fully formed, we probably would have had a bit of time where you know, like, I think a good epilogue would have been, like, not epilogue, because that's
You call it epilogue?
Yeah, that's what it's called. It's an epilogue.
I thought it was epilogue.
It's probably epilogue. Epilogue.
I never heard epilogue.
All right.
Epilogue.
Well, well, I haven't heard him be called fucking Prometheus. It's fucking Proteus.
That was me because I keep thinking of the aliens. I keep thinking aliens. Yeah. Prometheus. That should have been his name anyway. Prometheus.
That would have been even stronger. But
he's a Prometheus.
You imagine that there would have been a sequence, and again, there was going to be a sequence of Proteus with another person. So, you know, like
Pro.
You would have got it. Anyway, so we're gonna take a quick break, and then we'll talk about the legacy of Sinbad.
I didn't go to my phone plots.
The Deep Blue Menace Sunday at Baskin Robbins, inspired by the new movie Sinbad, Legend of the Seven Seas.
So yeah, we're talking final thoughts. Sinbad, Legend of the Seven Seas. This is interesting. Mark, I want to hear your thoughts.
There's no reason I didn't have much to say in this one because it's I guess it's a side effect of not growing up at all with this movie and just watching it in the year of 2024, like a decade and some change later. No, actually no, just 2 decades in a year. But like it's sort of just there. It's fine, I guess. It's like the story, it's not really, it's a very simple story, which is a lot happening in between. And like the world, it feels like a Adventure Time logic where like, it's not that things don't make sense. It's just like things are just is what it is. It's just like, this is just there and this is just this is just their obstacle. It's like, it's not too deep, you don't have to think too hard about it, but like they're going through this weirdness. And the weirdness is just an element of this world. You know, it doesn't need to be explained. And it's just like, they're just sort of going through it. It's just a lot of, like, stuff here and there. There's a lot of interesting, like, set pieces, sequences, but, like, I wasn't really on the edge of my seat for anything. Only because, like, again, the story is just very simple, and these are just obstacles within the story. It doesn't really, like, bring any drama or tension to the story itself. And, like, the art direction is a bit weird, like, especially a lot of the CG blend with some of the stuff. Like, sometimes it blends well, but a lot of times it stuck out a lot to me. It's like the, I guess, like, something about the colors, it's like something about this art direction, it's just weird. My best comparison, and the most fair comparison I can make is, Road to El Dorado. I think, like, again, the art direction in that movie is a lot better. I enjoyed the story a lot more. It wasn't really, I was hoping for something as good as that one, and it didn't really, like fill that in, so it was just alright. I wouldn't really watch it again or really recommend it. It's just there.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. As a fan, a young fan of this movie, I can see why I was. This was a mile a minute movie. Again, for 86 minutes, we talked about the 10-day trek. That means on average, that's that's 8 minutes per day if you were to average that out for the movie's runtime, right? So there's not a lot of time to develop anything. There's not a lot of time. There's so many things where, like you talked about, the set pieces. I love the set pieces. I love the action, but they don't mean anything when you're just going, here's one thing, next thing, here's the one thing, next thing, here's one thing, next thing, and there's only a little bit of a pause every once in a while. You get to the big bad moment in Tartarus, and it zooms by rather quickly. It's a test that doesn't mean much, and look, we said this about Atlantis before. What I love about going back and looking at these films is simply that it's like watching a movie now. It's like watching with the nostalgic glasses off because we review movies regularly now. So it's like, okay, like I can see this through a more present lens. And I think whether or not this was made 20 years ago, in 1 year, this just suffers from poor pacing. It's impressive on a technical level. Like the team that did the water, not just the physics, but how it looks visually, it's impressive. The creatures, obviously, it's like that's a technical achievement, but I think kind of like how we look at, you look at Elastigirl's hair when she's falling from the plane in Incredibles 1. You can see just the technical limits of the time. Like, that's just how it's going to happen. Like, the creatures aren't, the textures just fully cannot get there because we're at a point in time where it's just not at that point yet. Notably for, like you said, the giant, the Kraken.
Yeah,
and,
the Kraken.
And again, even the bird, it's like, the bird to me, it's like it had a couple moments where it looked like chromish. It had like a couple like ways where it would, like the lighting would affect it, where it would look like not chromish, but just like lighting looked a little weird. But I think the thing about the CG is, if I'm taking the modern out of it, maybe the idea was CG is so exciting that people will just be excited to see a CG set piece. And I think that's where a lot of these movies, whether it was Atlantis, whether it was this Sinbad here, that might have been where they got caught up.
I think that was the gimmick because, like I said, before, like we have talented animators on these DreamWorks projects.
Absolutely.
And like they could have easily they wouldn't be easy, but they could have like made these elements 2D.
Yeah.
But I think they just either wanted to experiment CG, or sometimes CG is just used as a shortcut when it comes to 2D animation, especially in like TV shows.
Yes.
Like a lot of people don't like animating cars, so a lot of cars in TV shows are just CG. Same thing with sometimes doors or like other objects, planes and stuff. So I'm not sure which one it is, but like it's either, or it could be both. It's either they use CG in this as a shortcut, or they just wanted to kind of show off. But like
I think it was, I don't know if
I wasn't there in 2003, so I'm not sure how it would look to Kid Mark.
Yeah.
But like it definitely didn't age well.
I think again, the water age as well. The boats look good. For the boats being digital, like they're CG. Like I think the boats look great. I think again, it's where you have the set pieces is where I think it looks. Again, we talked about. I don't think you're just talking about the sea creatures, right? You're not talking about, or not sea creatures, but the creatures in general. They're the ones that you.
The use of CG in general, because sometimes it's
again, the boats
it's hit and miss. I'm not saying it's all bad, but like sometimes it just like sometimes it blends and sometimes it doesn't.
I mean, fair, but I think it still looks I think most of the movie looks pretty good for 20 years later. Again, the boats being, fully like CG, digital art as well. It's like, that's very impressive. And the way it looks, like, again, in any shot, I think boats look good, and that's a tough thing to do. I think the water, again, looks impressive. I think the cityscape of Syracuse, when you have the 3D setting, looks pretty good. Even now, I think
for me it depends. Like sometimes the boat looks fine. Sometimes it's like it's definitely very CG there. And like again, a point of comparison is like a lot of TV shows around the time, like Futurama was using CG.
But that looked way cheaper. I mean, come on. Like,
Futurama looked fine.
But you could tell that it was more on a budget of CG than that.
Futurama?
Yes.
No, it's a TV show. It has a TV show budget.
Yes.
This is the movie budget.
Yes. I'm just saying, like, it's pretty clear whether or not, like, I think the difficulty here is still
I think it's more than fair, because also Futurama came way before Sinbad, too.
Yes, but they're not doing as much blending as well. Like you're
I know they should. I know they should have tried to do more blending. Is a thing.
Either do more blending or just make it more of a 2D movie. Is that what you mean? Like,
yeah, because like if it doesn't look that good, like why try it at all? That's my point.
I think they were just too far gone. Like, you know what I mean? I think that at a certain point they probably were. Again, we talked 2 years to do water physics, and then not water physics, but just that whole ocean setting is that's a lot of time to just do that. And then you can't renege on that. You know what I mean? Renege. So, yeah, I think that it's fine, but we'll talk about it later. I just think that this is a, and we'll talk about it actually right now. I'm going to go ahead and jump over. This is going to be at the end, but I think that this is a perfect this is a soft compliment to an actual better movie from DreamWorks. I think that this is just a weaker movie, and you might as well just watch The Last Wish of Puss in Boots. I think that they're not identical, but what I'm saying is these, like, when I thought of, let me explain. When I saw Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, I thought of instantly, hey, this feels like classic DreamWorks. Why is that? Because you've got a sly, confident, smooth, charming main character, played by the way, an equally smooth and charming actor. You had Brad Pitt with Sinbad. Here you have Antonio Banderas with Puss in Boots. They cross paths with an equally smooth, feminine character that is significant to their past. There's a MacGuffin that takes the team on a quest that features a lot of sequences. You have a female character. You have the female character and the male character rekindle a relationship, and that's one of the pivotal pieces to the main character finding his true purpose within that story. The villain is an eternal villain and can see right through the protagonist. And by the way, both Death and Eris are not defeated by killing them. They're killed by the main character's growth and understanding of purpose, right? Like, now the difference I'd say is Puss in Boots is more of a character-focused feature. It's a much better focus. I'm not saying that Puss in Boots is close to Sinbad. Sinbad's way worse. But I'm saying that if you were interested in Sinbad, you just get a better tale with The Last Wish.
I get the comparison. I'm saying, like, I was trying to make a fair comparison. This is just like, your comparisons make sense, but like, I don't think Puss in Boots is even like trying to be an homage to Sinbad. But no, what I'm saying is, it's hard to even compare that way, because like Puss in Boots is like, probably one of the best animated feature, probably one of the top, like easy, probably one of the top 10, like, or top 5 best animated features of all time, and like, Sinbad is just like a mid-DreamWorks movie. So it's like mid-DreamWorks 2D movie. Like, even if their 2D movies is not the best. So it's like it's very different leagues. So like usually I don't really try to make comparisons in that way. But so, I guess like if you want to, but again, they're both DreamWorks, you want to make those comparisons to like plot points it uses, sure. But it's like I can't even like add to this because it's just like not even a league.
I know. No, I understand. Again, I'm not comparing them as in like, oh, like here's one, and I'm saying that here's a DreamWorks property. They're both doing a hybrid situation of CG hand-drawn combination here in moments. They're both, again, dealing with main characters like that in similar styles. What I'm saying is it's great to see that there was an improvement in quality over the years at DreamWorks as well. So Puss in Boots is not only a better movie.
Two decades later, there better be. Jesus Christ.
Well, Mark, we just talked about Raya and Wish a few weeks ago. Like, Raya and Wish, you wouldn't, compared to the Renaissance, this was DreamWorks' last kind of Renaissance competitor. You know what I mean? Like, the whole point of their hand-drawn competition was, let's try and do something that's on par with the Renaissance. We can beat Disney at their own game, or at least compete in their market space. And they can't. They did not. They had no ability. By the way, again, the year before, Disney made Treasure Planet. And Sinbad came out, and at the time, the critics thought that Sinbad was better than Treasure Planet. Treasure Planet, over the years, has actually become more of a favorite movie. But the point being, like, this was, Sinbad was the DreamWorks, was the Renaissance competitor. And here we have, again, 20 years later, DreamWorks has made something even better with the bones and style that Sinbad somewhat had. That's where I see a very similar corollary between these two movies. Like, again, The villains are just eternal characters. They're not like that's big deal. You have the feminine characters that have past relationships with the main character, and then they go on this journey and they have a romantic tether that kind of swings back together, and that builds the main character. The main character has to find something within in himself, and they're sly and smooth and confident. I just think it's there. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, it's Puss in Boots, but 20 decades worse.
It's exactly, that's what I'm saying. Like, yeah.
I guess it's not really much of a. It's not really not saying much, honestly.
It's literally what. It is DreamWorks comparison with a lot of similarities. What are you talking about? There's nothing to say here. There's a lot of similarities here, and like I don't know if I just explained it twice. There are a.
You already did. I get it. I mean, it's
I don't think you do.
It has very similar beats.
Yes. But it's better.
Yes.
And that's impressive.
That's kind of stating the obvious.
I don't think people would have looked at this. I'm saying people wouldn't have looked at this and Sinbad and thought, oh yeah, I can see the similarity here, and then think, oh yeah, okay, that's all.
I guess, but it's not really like a. Like it's like not a really big like it's not a similarity to where it feels like a remake. So I mean, it's like, you can you can compare beats.
All the core points, the MacGuffin, the main character, a female character that's a love interest that was a previous love interest before, and now they're coming back. The villain, like, what's not similar? That's the journey.
So wait, is your point like it's like a remake?
The journey has sequences. I'm saying that they're very similar and they're from the same company, but it's great to see that now this generation has a better movie, and we as an audience have a better movie in the present than this one. Because again, I used to think that this movie was absolutely like the bee's knees, kick ass. It's not.
When it comes to certain similarities, it's just saying like this movie's kind of like pretty much this movie, and it's just like a kind of mind blowing. Like a really fun comparison people made is that I found out later is like the Lego movie is pretty much the Matrix, and I'm like, oh shit, it is. It follows like a lot of the same beats, but like almost like very very close though, very very beat for beat.
It is,
but it still finds its way to have its own identity with those beats. These still, even with the beats you mentioned, still feels like just very vastly different movies.
How do you not... Wait, how did you connect the Lego Movie and the Matrix when critics said that, and they do, beat for beat, move very similarly, and by the way, one's a live-action CG hybrid, and the other is a live-action feature that is in a much different tone, but these two that are both from DreamWorks Animation, and both using the animation style of their day, isn't more similar. That's
no, they are like I get your comparison, but like it's just like I mean it's not. I'm saying I guess it's not an interesting comparison. I don't know. It's not interesting.
From the same studio.
Yeah, it's from the same studio. Yeah, it's yeah.
That's not interesting. I think that's pretty interesting. I think that it's like
Naked Sinbad isn't interesting.
I think just
maybe because Sinbad's just there. I guess.
Fair.
It's
fair. Yeah. I just wanted to reach out on this one just as.
I'm not trying to continue this argument. I'm like,
I'm moving off of it, but yeah, that's all. Just again, it's just like, hey, basically, thinking about this movie, go just completely skip this movie entirely. Completely skip this movie entirely and go to a movie that is made from the same studio, has a charming character that is a little bit brash and arrogant, that deals with a MacGuffin on his way with a feminine character and an eternal villain. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Either way. So some people also wonder, like, hey, like, so Sinbad didn't do well. Is that just because the movie's mid? Is that why that it didn't do well? Well, no. It's also because, like, they had some real competition. They had some serious competition. This was, like, so people just, like, I'll talk about finding, like, finding Nemo in a second. We got to talk about the fact that fucking Pirates came out a week after this movie. This was a terrible time.
A week? Shit.
A terrible time to release a pirate movie that cost money. Like, because Pirates with Johnny Depp They just didn't know. They just didn't know. No one knew that Pirates was going to become this giant mega franchise that blew up through the whole 2000s. People would dress up as Johnny Depp as Jack Sparrow. People would do the impressions of Johnny Depp as Jack Sparrow. There would be it would be a cultural zeitgeist franchise for a long time, and it came out the week after Sinbad. And so people realized, oh, I don't really care if that's animated or not. Whether or not it was a hand-drawn animated feature or not, it just wasn't going to compete with a fucking movie that does the same thing. It's not the same exact movie. I'm not saying it's the same movie, but it's in the same genre. You know, if you're taking your family to see a pirate movie, you're going to take them to see the one that's it's got live action, pyrotechnic adventures and fun for all, and you feel a little more suspense because it's not animation, it's real. So if someone falls from a distance, or Johnny Depp is doing something on a tightrope and it looks like he's about to fall off, that's a little more maybe suspenseful than an animated feature where you know that the character's probably either going to be alive or dead, but you don't know that character for a long time. Pirates was just a massive deal, and it's just nuts that it came out a week before, that Sinbad did. It's just a terrible time.
And this movie's, what was the release month?
July.
Okay, yeah. Looney Tunes Back in Action stayed away from that month for a reason. Even though they went for later the month and they still failed anyway.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, because and Finding Nemo, you're about to get to that. When did that come out?
So Finding Nemo came out a couple months earlier, if I'm not mistaken. Why didn't I put it on the thing? Either way, Finding Nemo. One sec. I think I have it on the. I have 2 docs. Here we go. Wait. Come on. So Finding Nemo came out in early summer. By July, you're in midsummer. So this was, I believe, a early June movie. But the problem
May 30th. So it's pretty much June.
Yeah. So Finding Nemo came out on May 30th, and it was so. Just to understand, Rugrats came out. That did not do a dent in Finding Nemo's earnings at all. If you were a family and you wanted to see a movie, or a kid wanted to see a movie, you were probably going to see Finding Nemo once, twice. We talked about it in Cars. This movie was the juggernaut for Pixar in the 2000s. There was nothing close.
I remember that era. Finding Nemo got me. Like I said, Finding Nemo is what got me into loving cartoons. It's just there was merchandising everywhere. That movie. Everyone was talking about that movie. That movie was a beast. It was a juggernaut. It was in theaters for a while too.
There was nothing. There was no. Let me get this right. There was no competition. There was no competition for Sinbad until Brother Bear. No, Pirates of the Caribbean is the biggest competition, and probably why it didn't make money. Outside of Finding Nemo, the juggernaut that kept going. But there was nothing in Finding Nemo's way, because Sinbad didn't do anything to it, until Brother Bear, all the way in fall. So the summer animated movie of 2003 was Finding Nemo, and people loved, and you're just going and rewatching it and just immersed in that ocean.
I was rewatching
and going through that journey, and
it's the reason I bought Pet Fish.
Right. So and that's it was the worst possible time for DreamWorks to. They put it between a Pixar juggernaut and a pirate movie. That was the worst. When I saw this on the calendars, I was like, this is insane. You could not have, we talk about Ruby Gillman being in the middle of chaos. This is worse. This is worse.
I didn't get in the chat because I tried to do research before we go on these, but I didn't have much time. Also, this is a movie I didn't have much interest in to begin with. But what was their reasoning for wanting to make this? Why do you think this movie up?
Believe this was in development. This was already in development for a couple years.
Did they say why? Who wanted it to be made? Why they wanted it to be made?
I know the writer and director. That one I don't have it on me immediately. I'll tell you that much. I'd have to research that, and I researched quite a bit, but I didn't research where it came from. I was more doing it from a nostalgic lens, but I know that the whole thing with that was they were building this movie basically at the turn of the century, right around 2000 through 2003, and it's there was still a lot of optimism because you had Prince of Egypt, and that did pretty well. And Road to El Dorado, it's like, maybe that's like, that did fine, but it didn't do fine at all. It bombed. And it's like, we don't know if that means that it's not worthy to do it. And then they were looking at Spirit financially, and it's like, all right, Spirit was the tap turning off, because Sinbad was already in development. Spirit was, if Spirit doesn't make money, we're probably gonna wrap it after Sinbad. And so when Spirit didn't make money, they didn't announce it until after Sinbad, but they were already pretty much transitioning into, especially because same time Shrek blew up. So it was like, okay, 2 movies in a row that were hand-drawn were failures. Shrek fucking kicked ass. Sinbad was going to be the last one. So whatever concept was being executed back in the turn of the century, 99, 2000, for Sinbad, they were just going to keep it moving. And you can kind of tell that they didn't want to put a lot of assets into this movie after a certain point because they cut so much out. You know what I mean? Like, there's so much of this movie that's not here. It's 86 minutes. It's quick. And it misses a lot of things to grow the characters and build more. There's got to be, like, if the final product has to be like a Snyder vision where it's like, here's what we really wanted to do, But yeah,
I can't speak for other childhoods, but I can tell you, like, from Kid Mark was a Disney simp. They were my 2D suppliers. Like, if there's another 2D movie and it's not from Disney, I don't want it. But unless it shows up on Cartoon Network, I'll watch it. But like, this is Kid Mark. This is only Kid Mark.
You saw Treasure Planet?
No.
Yeah, you said 2D. Go fuck. I was about to say, like, excuse me, sir.
I know, because it reminded me too much of of Disney movies that aren't. 2D movies that aren't Disney. So it's like, this feels like one of those 2D movies that aren't Disney.
And they were starting to, again, that was the sci-fi era where it's like, we're gonna go to space, we're gonna do this.
So I never watched Atlantis either back in the day.
Yeah, we talked about it.
Where's the comic relief? It's not a Disney tradition.
That's so weird. Again, like, I do appreciate.
I know there's a comic relief in Treasure Planet, but like they weren't advertising that.
It's so weird though, because Disney was like leaning into like sci-fi for their hand-drawn stuff when at the very tail end, and then even Lilo and Stitch. But like but DreamWorks was more into that action adventure. That's why you get Road to El Dorado, Spirit, Sinbad.
Something about Lilo and Stitch spoke Disney to me. Even though it's different.
There's a magical charm to that movie.
And then like Home and Arrange came out, like, I want to see that. That's Disney. That's Disney.
No, I saw it as a kid. I don't think I ever watched it again, but I just was like, I'm
talking about Kid Mark.
Kid Mark. Yeah, Kid Mark. Yeah, we all know that guy.
I haven't watched Home and Arrange recently, but like the Yodel song still slaps. I've listened to that recently.
Yeah, it's an interesting change time there. Talking about changing time, let me jump over to. I don't think we really need to talk about Cyclops Island. The brief thing about I'll briefly talk about it because
screenshot. What the fuck is that?
So what this?
Yeah, Cyclops Island.
So Cyclops Island is just I'd say 3 to 5 minutes short. That follow where the team go to this island. Basically, they go to a place to vacation. They don't realize that it's it's a place where Cyclops are.
Takes place afterwards? It takes
place afterwards. Like, this is the first thing. This is the first place they go after the movie, basically. And Sinbad chose the island. So they go and they get off and they're grabbing stuff and they're curious about what's on the island, and then they come upon this little rock formation that has Cyclops in it, and it's a really quick jumble to get. It's like just action. It's just like action for action's sake. Like, all right, we're gonna have you fight these Cyclops for a little bit, and what I'll say is during the whole sequence they literally use like 7 different parts of the Sinbad movie score, and it does not tether together well. Like, it's like, here's one part, here's another part, here's another part, here's another part, and you can hear it all, and then it ends with the dramatic portions of the soundtrack, and it just all stitches together not well. But it definitely felt like this was going to be Cyclops Island is a good, like, what if we had a TV show, basically. Like, here's a misadventure with the characters, basically. That's what it feels like this was going for.
Getting into that, I mean, this whole movie kind of feels like it could have been like a pilot to a TV show. Like, I could have seen like it's a Sinbad TV show out of this, because the they're doing adventures amongst the seas, and then like the Eris is the goddess's name, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Eris.
and Eris is just like fucking with them the whole time. It's like I'm gonna destroy Sinbad with this plot. Every episode, I'm gonna just try to attempt to destroy Sinbad with a different. I'm gonna send a creature to beat up Sinbad.
Yep. It's definitely
that's kind of what Hades does in a Hercules show. He's just like, I'm gonna find some way to fuck with Hercules every episode.
I'm bored. What the fuck is this kid doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a fun premise.
No, of course, but like that's again like there's so much that they could have worked with in this world. We don't see the 7 Seas, by the way. It's called the 7 Seas. We don't see the 7 Seas, so that would be something for a show to figure out. But again, looks like both Disney and DreamWorks, they don't deal with their financial loss like movies. They don't care, even though there's a lot of potential. There's so much IP lore built in, and it's all one of their IPs. So maybe eventually there's something. You would think like a charming character, they could touch it up, but then again, they've got Puss in Boots now where they could just do a series of whatever.
Checking my Amazon video purchase, and it doesn't come with any extras. Just the movie. This is the world of streaming, everybody. This is what you get.
You know what's crazy is that commentary and deleted scene came with a 3-pack of Joseph King of Dreams, Road to El Dorado, and Sinbad. That's probably the rare example of a 3-pack actually having something in it, not just the movie. So.
I'm trying to get my hands on. I'm trying to get my 6-pack going.
All right, so
I'm trying to get double that.
Yeah, you loser. It's just the beginning. All right, so sorry, not for the.
We're going back to the. We're starting the whole thing all over again. Fuck.
You said your piece. So last thing I want to talk about is like this point. It's very weird. A very weird time for animators because again they knew what was going on already. They saw the writing on the wall essentially. All of these teams were transitioning into CG, so this was just the death knell. Sinbad, it was the final traditionally animated DreamWorks feature, and after that point they move on. But a lot of people were just very like it was weird. Some industry analysts, I had a few quotes. Were like, man, CG is going to be a phase. People aren't going to actually stick to that. It's not going to be really a thing. This won't be, so there's a guy, Bryan Reynolds from AnimationNation.com. He said this way back around the time when this was happening. He said, will there be demand for these films? He's talking about CG films. Will there be as much demand for these films 5 years from now? Will the or will the studios all close down again? That was in 2003. Like he had no idea they had no idea what was gonna happen. There was one person where it's like a guy that's an animator at DreamWorks who was like, look, this is another quote. The biggest hurdle for me wasn't technology, it was psychological. The fear I had was about whether I could do the same quality of work and convey the same kind of emotion in 3D that I could in 2D. So there was this loss of soul, it felt like, in the 3D animation. Because we remember, like, in the 2000s, the only real animation studio that handled emotions well with characters in CG was Pixar. Everyone else was still so far behind that, like, visually, you know what I mean? Like, you couldn't really see that expressiveness yet. So that feeling, I could absolutely understand that fear, especially when you're an artist and you're drawing that expression. That had to be tough.
Well, also, Pixar knew better than to fucking try a movie with humans. They don't do that until like The Incredibles. Even then, it was kind of stylized, but like that was a major stepping stone for Pixar when they had to do Incredibles. So, a lot of these studios, they try to do features with humans and they don't look, and the issue was their humans back then didn't really look human because CG wasn't that good at that at the time. A lot of them looked plasticky. And again, Pixar was smart because since CG looks plasticky, we'll just make a whole movie about toys.
Yeah,
and you can believe that.
Like you still remember the faces of B-movie, and it's like they're not bad, but it's like the expressions are still a bit not the bees, the humans. Like the human expressions are still they're not there yet to fully show how true. Now it's a comedy, so you're probably not going to get a lot of emotion, true expressions that you want out of that. But still, it's a good example of what limitations there were. Here's another quote from another animation person here. A guy that talked to This is from Ryan Ball of Animation Magazine back in September of 2003. And he said he spoke with local 839 president, and this is for, I believe, an animation guild. He said that President Kevin Koch observed, there are some positions like animators where I know a lot of people have been successfully transitioning, but unfortunately there are a lot of positions that don't really have any analog or any connection in CG. I know some cleanup people who have been able to transition or are in the process of that. There's a somewhat similar position in CG called finaling, but it really takes a whole separate set of skills. Finaling is dealing with the geometric intersections and the crashing parts in that computer. But to some extent, that's so technical, it's like starting from scratch. If anything, I wasn't thinking about people in, for instance, digital ink and paint. Like, it's a completely... unless they can transition into something like compositing, it's a completely lost job category. So again, people in the industry were just like, really kind of stressed and really worried about this switchover, because again, that language that you've learned forever and you've been able to work with, people aren't going to theaters to watch your stuff anymore. They don't care, and they want CG. So that again.
Kid Mark was there. Honestly,
but you're a kid. I'm saying,
yeah.
The general audience. It's like we talked about this with Cars, and we talked about this with Chicken Little, but So here's a great.
Only bring up Kid Mark. I assume that's the way other people probably were thinking too.
Yeah, here's a great.
I'm not saying for all kids.
Yeah, here's a great quote. This is from Kelly Ashbury. She was the co-director of Shrek 2. And this one's a pretty honest point. This actually becomes prophecy. She says, my biggest fear for 2D animation is that it will become a babysitter, a medium to pop a video in for your children to shut up for a few hours. I hope we don't see that happen, because when I first started in the industry in 1980, animation was kind of there. It had a resurgence in the mid-80s with Roger Rabbit and Little Mermaid, but before that, there was a period where it was just in the doldrums. We've had a really nice wave of that. We've ridden for a long time. We're talking almost 20 years of a real successful period for 2D animation. Everything goes in and out of style. I love 2D. I grew up with it. We all did. We cut our teeth on it. We stand on the shoulders of these guys who created Pinocchio, Bambi, Snow White, Fantasia, Lady and the Tramp, Peter Pan, and Cinderella. And honestly, that's kind of how it went. 2D kind of phased into the background, into television, and that's where it went until you got the Flash animation that took over, and that's still hand drawn, but you know what I mean? It kind of leans into that, and then you get more CG works that get into television as well. There's much less out there.
I will say Princess and the Frog was they had it wasn't like they were marketing to the same audiences. They were kind of doing separate marketings. Hey, 2D fans, old school 2D fans, this is your movie. Hey, little girls, hey, seen this movie about this princess? It's pretty good. It was whispering between both markets, and it was a weird advertising sort of thing.
Yeah, because I think they knew hey, we're trying. I think if there's one last breath of hey, we still have a bit of a team left that knows how to do this. We're calling everyone, check it out, and not enough people went, and now those people are not. That's why when it's hey, can they would have to rebuild everything to those studios again if we were going to see you know what I mean, a full hand-drawn feature, because a lot of those lessons are gone.
That was a problem with Mary Poppins Returns, because they had to get a bunch of older animators because they wanted to do a 2D sequence. In Mary Poppins Returns, they had a 2D sequence that were kind of the original. Yeah. And they had to get a lot of older animators, and how to get those older animators to teach the younger animators to do the 2D sequence. Yeah. Because that was why it was so challenging.
Because it's out of time. And that's somewhat terrifying. You could say a little terrifying if you're. Well, yeah, I'd say a little terrifying because again, that's the loss of 2D. Here's again. I'm sorry, I'm going through quotes, but I found them just interesting for the time because they're kind of prophecy. This is from DreamWorks spokeswoman Terry Press. She said, "Until audiences show some affection for 2D, we're not going to get back into it, of course." And again, talking about Chicago Tribune, talking about Treasure Planet Sinbad. This is a piece of their review. It's funny because again, Sinbad is certainly more engaging than Treasure Planet, but it never answers the critical question, why is this movie animated? It's a high seas romantic comedy of sorts with a pirate title character trying to save his old friend as he grows closer to that friend's fiancée. Does this movie need to be animated? I mean, I think Pirates of the Caribbean shows that it really didn't, but I think I think it's a technical. I think
you can say that with a lot of movies. The thing about animation, it would like it's less expensive than trying to make that stuff look. If you have like a lot of like mythical stuff, it's much less expensive than trying to make it look good in live action.
Yes, as we've seen with so many expensive movies these days.
There's a reason, like, there's, like, we get, like, animated spin-offs of live-action stuff sometimes. It's like, well, it'll be hard to make that stuff look good in live action, so it's just gonna be animated. Like, we got, like, a Men in Black animated series, we got, like, other animated stuff I don't feel like mentioning, I'm doing a good thing about, but, like, it's a reason we get, like, a lot of animated project based on live-action stuff. It's like, it's sometimes it's too expensive to like make something look good in live action.
Yeah, man. I think it goes both ways though. Like we've seen quite. I mean, look, we talked about Knuckles already. Like, that's clearly a budget cut thing. It's like we don't want to pay to fucking make a.
Well, that's another thing.
We don't want to pay to animate to make a full. Cost.
That's another thing. When sometimes you make things live action, that's how it gets more attention from a bigger audience. Which is
Lion King.
That's again. That's why some of these Disney live action remakes are working, because if these are just cartoons, the mentality we have as Americans for the fucking animation industry is
it's for
kids. It's for kids. Like, so a lot of general audiences are just gonna, mainly adults are just gonna ignore it. But like when you put it in live action, people are more likely to, even if it's like marketed towards kids, people are more likely to be curious.
That's why
it's a side. Yeah.
And that's where we're seeing obviously another DreamWorks property, How to Train Your Dragon, is now in production for its live action debut. I think it's a terrible idea still, but like you said, like if the mentality continues to be, even though How to Train Your Dragon is very mature it's a very mature story. Not like babies can't watch it, but like it's just a very well told, well written, all ages film, like a set of films. Like, again, the mindset still is, hey, that kid's movie was good. It's not, this movie was good. It's, hey, that kid's movie was great.
Well, I mean, all animated movies have to be marketed towards kids, like at least in our American stuff, because like we don't trust the medium to sell successfully to adults.
Which is why Spider-Verse was impressive, because it was not shoving that. I will say they marketed the baby a lot. So whatever, but
so, what was I gonna say? Like Sausage Party was like the once in a blue moon thing. Like same thing with like I'm not counting the Simpsons movie. That even though that was PG-13, that was still going off the success of this TV show. It was going off the success of last TV. But like Sausage Party, I think that was successful, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was like once in a blue moon sort of thing. But for
are you counting like super mature or mature? Because I think something like
just in general, something just making theatrical animation that's not for kids is like something we're still not doing as often.
No, not at all.
I mean, on TV, sure. On streaming, sure. Why not? But like, because it's always been there on TV. It's always been there on streaming.
DC,
but like theatrical, we're not gonna attempt that.
No,
that's too risky.
Again, yeah.
And I mean, I was getting so high when Sony, during the pandemic, Sony was announcing they were doing more mature, like either rated R or PG-13 movies.
Well, isn't Strays still coming? I feel like that's literally in production, because I feel like everything
could be. I'll see it when I see it.
But I mean, would you consider
there was a couple things supposed to coming, but like
would you consider Spider-Verse?
I hope it's coming.
Yeah, but would you consider Spider-Verse? Because I think Spider-Verse is in that mature case. Like it's not like kids. It's not aiming like Minions. If you get what I'm saying.
Here's the thing: it's Spider-Verse is an interesting case, but like it's more because they get to double dip, because the IP is already synonymous with little kids anyway, so they don't even have to try. It's just like as long as Spider-Man's there, they're fine. So it's not really much of a big risk. Like kind of like again the Simpsons movie back in the day. It's going off of a legacy. Like they can make like this could be like the adult like a a PG-13 adult movie, but like the legacy of the IP is good enough to sell because Spider-Man, because we already got PG-13 Spider-Man movies and live action that's selling to little kids. That's very successful to little kids as well.
So how about this? Let's keep it in DreamWorks. Kung Fu Panda. Do you think it's just because it's cute and cuddly that immediately like removes it from the category of a little bit more mature? Because I think that story is
that's also marketed towards kids.
Actually, I'm sorry. Skadoosh, fart jokes, Skadoosh, the marketing. Yeah, never mind.
Anthropomorphic characters, very synonymous with kids. They're not really doing anything like risky with them, so it's just it is made in mind to be a kids movie. It's marketed to be a kids movie.
Do you have to be,
I know we had a similar conversation when we were talking about If. It was just like these, like a lot of these movies are marketed, even if they have mature themes or something like that. They are marketed towards kids. They are written with like.
Kids you can be an adult without wanting it to be scantily clad. I don't think that means that it's some.
I know, but like the marketing, the writing, it's like it's there to be accessible for kids.
I see.
So they can sell. That's because it's a safe market.
Right.
It's a safe market. That's what you have to do.
Fair. I think overall though, I think we're still not there yet. I think we're trying to get through this breakthrough point. Anime has obviously gotten much further over in Japan, but we're still at that point of here in America where you have only a few animation studios that have the budget to go super theatrical, and most of them are not going to do that. You're not going to see that from Illumination. Disney, they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Except for sequels.
Close thing got mine to like a mature animation. I think that's not from Japan at least. Is a movie I talked about was Mars Express, which and I thought was just okay. I think a lot of people liked it more than me, but good on them. But it seems to be like an anime movie that's not from Japan, that's actually mature, that's got a theatrical release. But I guess it's indie, so it doesn't really. It's hard to count indie stuff because indies are always trying something different from the norm.
They're always on the edge
from the norm of big studios.
Yeah, they're on the edge. That's good.
People are trying. It seems people are still trying.
Yeah, and I think that's where we will wrap this episode of CartoonChat.
Oh yeah, Sinbad. What was that?
Look, that was a movie. Again, that's why I like doing these nostalgic looks back, because again, it reinforces this idea that again, you could throw your kids in front of almost anything, like television wise or entertainment wise. In fact, you see a bunch of parents just shoving an iPad in front of kids' faces, or giving a kid a smartphone, fucking insane. But putting a phone in front of their faces, and nothing, a lot will just hold a kid. But then looking back at it as an adult, it's the movies that actually do more than just not just. I'm not going to say this is bare minimum. This is a technically, parts of this are technical achievements, but it just does not stand the test of time because of writing, execution, pacing, and all of that. So Sinbad was it was good to look back, but again, it's good to see that DreamWorks has made something better in recent times, and it's good to go back and feel out something that you definitely enjoyed as a kid. So final thoughts, Mark, on just overall the cartoon chat, and say anything to the people. Anything to the people.
Watch Aladdin. That's an Arabian movie. or watch this competition. Watch Finding Nemo or Pirates.
I will say, watch Pirates.
If you are from 2003 and you somehow found access to a time machine that goes into the future,
I wish.
First of all, watch every movie before you have to go back to your own time. Just fucking cheat and watch every sequel and spoil it for all your fucking friends.
Dude, Mark, you could probably get a Dreamcast for $5 back then. Or some cheap, because of course it's 2003, so Dreamcast is dead. They're probably nothing price-wise now, because Sega's done.
Research all lottery numbers, baby.
All lottery numbers.
But just
holy fuck.
This is in terms of 2D. I haven't seen the Prince of Egypt or Spirit, but even from
Dorado's beautiful. But Dorado's beautiful though. Like El Dorado's great.
that too.
I love how visually impressive it is. I love
El Dorado.
I like its color definition. All of it's great. Like but
I love El Dorado. But even going by if I was to look at like I'm not cases. If I was just look at posters, even from poster, I think like Sinbad is like the least interesting of these movies. So like if you want to do like. I'm like not even comparing it to just overall other animated movies, just like compared to those 4 DreamWorks 2D animation movies. Like you can go between one of those 3.
Yeah. So this is the poster. Now just imagine cut off the other 2/3 and the middle was the poster. That's the poster. That's pretty bad. I'm gonna be honest with you. It's just like okay, they've got swords.
I was wrong. That's probably a more interesting poster than
No, because I have the other 3 traditional animated right here. I think El Dorado looks better. I think Spirit, it's got a horse, so that's a little more interesting. Prince of Egypt obviously is like, okay, so you get the idea. It's Egypt, so you're going to be a little curious about that. It's got the pyramids. People always like the pyramids. El Dorado, again, I think El Dorado looks pretty interesting.
Okay, El Dorado looks fun. It's like a fun
exactly. Like
okay, yeah, never mind. Yeah, it's a bit...
I think you were right in the beginning. Sinbad is the worst looking poster out of the standard posters.
Spirit has horses up front, which is very good for the furry community. So they'll be all over that flick.
All right, guys.
All these have horses. Holy shit!
Oh my god!
Go back.
Wait, maybe that's why Sinbad didn't make money, because all of them had
There's no horses.
The first 3 had horses. Shrek has a donkey. Fuck! It all comes together. Holy shit! It all makes sense now. Holy fuck! Wow.
The fucking brony community was just growing around this time. They weren't fully formed until like the 2010s when that fucking show came out.
They were just molding themselves.
They were just molding themselves. It's like as soon as like fucking pre-converted bronies saw curious pre-converted bronies when they saw like fucking Sinbad, it was like, this has no horses.
What the fuck? Guys, this has been Cartoon Chat. Mark is the best technical producer on the planet. Appreciate our guests for being here, and again, go ahead to
until like we fucking and a week later we meet like a new guy and his name is
better.
He's Steve. I know, like, oh wait, you guys are doing this setup? Wait, all you gotta do is connect this and like it's like everything is like fucking HD 4K frames and shit.
So, how upset would you be if it was that easy? Like,
oh no, I'd be like, I don't have to do any more work. Fuck it.
Oh my god. But guys, again, you can go to.
You would like call me like, Mark, can you set up the studio? I'm like, get Steve, just call Steve, tell him to do it. Fuck, I'm tired.
Jesus.
How long did it?
Go to ScreenBlastPodcast.com, of course. ScreenBlast Podcast, Cartoon Chat, the animation conversation, Blasting Turbo Reports, our video game centric conversation, and Mark and Bryan have a cow. So, appreciate you guys for watching.
I don't. Why are you here?
I'll see you around.
Out of all the Cartoon Chat, you clicked on Sinbad. Fuck! We had a catalog, and you clicked on this one, you clicked on this podcast? Get out of here! Alright, go to the... You're not on the logo.
Oh, I was going to say log it out.
I do it on the logo. We're still on screen, there we go. Log it out, everybody!